All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this mediation. I'm thankful to be here with both of you parties. My name is Jeremy and Brett. And if you guys don't know what a mediation is, obviously I've been contacted here to facilitate a discussion because this is what a mediation is all about. Now, let me make one thing clear: we're not here to come up with a resolution to your conflict. However, my duty here is to uh, establish an effective communication between both of you parties. So we're going to cover a few housekeeping stuff before we just jump right in. And Brett.
Yeah, like Jeremy said, we're just here to create effective communication between you two. We're not interested in coming to a final resolution today. In fact, there is no time limit for our meeting. We're here to please you two, so however long you feel it's necessary to be here, we'll be here. We're not pushing anything. And just to get started, we'd like to get your two names, how we could refer to you throughout this mediation. And how can we refer to you?
Drew.
Drew? Okay, Drew. And how about you?
Alice.
Alice? Okay, well, nice to have you both here today. Me and my mediator recognize that conflicts are not necessarily easy things to be in, and this is the first step, and you two maybe coming to a better understanding of each other and really diving into how you can find an outcome to this problem that you two are having right now. So, if you'd like to say something else.
Obviously, Drew, you're the party that contacted me for this mediation, and as my colleague has covered, we're going to take some time here. We don't want to create a pace where we want to make you both feel rushed. So we're going to have a portion of really just hearing and really exploring the meat of the conflict, and to really just get a detailed understanding of what's happening and how can we begin that discussion. Okay.
So we're focused on the journey, like he said. We're what the meat of the conversation is. So throughout this process, you're going to be asked to share your side of the story, and don't feel that you need to hold anything back. Release how you want to say it, or release the words that you want to say. It's all right. This is a confidential setting. Everything said in this mediation will stay in this mediation. So it'll be just us four that know about this, unless there are other parties or other people that you feel should know about this.
I feel like my husband should know.
Your husband?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And is there anyone?
My wife.
Drew? So we have your wife and your husband?
So it's standard procedure that once we finish, we're going to have you sign a confidentiality form just to acknowledge that this is to be shared with them. But we take confidentiality very seriously.
Okay.
So this is a voluntary experience. Appreciate you both giving us your time. And like we said, we're not trying to force anything upon you too. We're just trying to relax and really dig into the meat of the problem, the underlying issues that you two need to have resolved, to maybe feel a peace of mind about living next door to your neighbors. And hopefully this is the goal by the end of the day, is maybe to be at peace with your own self, to know that you got what you wanted to get out of this mediation.
Okay, cool. Well, let's dive right into it. Why don't we start with you, Mr. Drew? So you contacted me earlier in this week, and you gave me a brief synopsis of really what occurred in this past month. But can you tell us right here, right now, really in detail, in the best detail as possible, what exactly happened? Why are we here today?
To be specific, first off, I wanted to say I'm an ordinary man. I got ordinary values. It's not like I'm hard to beat around. So and I have worked a job that's affluent enough for me to have a backyard, to where I like to enjoy myself often with my family. So to be exact, one evening I was in the backyard with my family, and I happened to notice, by looking through the fence, in a hole that's not too big, but big enough for me to catch a glimpse of my neighbors in the nude. And this is, keep in mind, at a time where I'm still in my backyard and people are still awake. Dusk, yes, nighttime going down, but at a time where I obviously could see this myself. I saw this, and it upsets me because, number one, I have a wife, I have kids, and I pay to be here. And I don't pay to be under any restrictions. and I don't agree with anyone being naked, you know, around any kids or anywhere where kids can be or in the vicinity without it being in the confines of their own home. And this is my issue, is that I feel that something somewhere along the lines of I'm being compromised on my children's safety and their well-being by them being exposed to this. Also, myself and my wife. It's not right.
Is it okay if I kindly just interrupt?
You
real
can
quick? I have a quick question. Did this happen? Were they? Did you happen to just see them on the other side, or did they make any noise to?
Well,
to
I
cause
mean,
you to-
you know, what it is that they obviously were up. I don't know if I directly heard them, but the hole in the fence is what I saw them through.
So it was a hole in the fence.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not like I went over the fence or I went next door and knocked on the door or invaded their privacy in any form of way. She might insinuate that I was looking or snooping. I don't know. That's not the case at all. I have no reason to do any of that. I'm trying to enjoy my own.
So you don't have any type of understanding of why people would be in the nude around children. Is that what you're?
What I'm saying is that shouldn't even be something that I should have to worry about because of where I live and what I pay to live where I live.
Mm-hmm.
And normal people usually wouldn't be getting naked at a time where people are still awake.
I mean, to be fair, normal is different to other people, so this may be normal.
But I feel that it's definitely normal for kids not to be exposed to nude adults.
Okay, so yeah.
And kids, it's normal for kids to be awake when the sun's still going down.
Right.
It's normal for kids to be in the backyard when I'm having dinner.
Sure.
When the sun is setting. And what I consider not normal is for someone to be naked. And for their interest, maybe they consider that normal. I don't.
Okay.
And that's why I'm saying there is a problem here.
Yeah, many people would agree with you. And
right. Not only that, when I voiced it to be a problem, I got ignored.
Okay.
So what happened following this little this?
Well, nothing
experience?
happened directly after that, but my latest incident when I tried to confront my good neighbor, it was very rude and abrupt, and I didn't, I lost even more respect, to be exact.
So when was the respect first lost?
When I looked through a hole and seen them naked.
Instantly? It's just seeing someone naked?
Right. At a time that to consider where kids are still awake, to me is yes.
And that's what you were going to approach your neighbor about?
Right.
Okay.
Because I believe I have a right to do that because we live next to each other.
Right.
And we should definitely be able to communicate with each other if something is out of line or is bothering.
And that's exactly right. There was no line of communication. That's kind of what today is all about. So we're here getting this started. It's good that you're storytelling and letting the other party hear your side of the story. Now we have a
right. I didn't get a chance to before, so I'm thinking this is more of a better environment.
Makes sense.
Maybe
right.
For me to at least tell you.
Okay, I just have another question because you mentioned that you one morning you tried to have contact with Miss Alice, and what was the reaction that she gave you? Did she at least give you a moment?
No, she tried to race away.
Okay.
And real people face their problems. They don't run away.
You do realize that this was at 7 a.m. while I was getting to work, right?
Miss Alice,
I don't care where you go.
I appreciate you voicing your opinion. However, we're gonna.
It's not an
take
opinion;
this time.
it's fact.
We will get back to you. And
if it looks like somebody's trying to present you in something as an emergency, you might want to at least take a half a second of your time to at least find out what that person was, trying to get a hold of you for. It wasn't like I was jumping on her hood, but I wanted her to know this is something urgent. You could at least say, hey, I'll talk to you later. Hey, I got to go to work. Anything along the lines of something other than just rudely just racing off with no explanation here or later back.
Okay.
That's it.
So if we haven't made it clear, this is a moment for both parties to take turns, and if you have any types of remarks, we would appreciate if you save it till afterwards, after one party is done.
Or maybe write it on a piece of paper if you have any thoughts. You have your piece of paper, Drew. Here we go, Alice.
And okay, so anything else you would like to share after that moment? And
After that moment,
or
you know,
anything
I
else?
just noticed that, you know, it never was an attempt to make any communication to find out what my issue was. You know, that's about
Okay.
it for that. Can I get a glass of water?
Absolutely, yeah.
Sure.
We have water and snacks down the
Thank you.
hall, bathrooms as well. If you weren't aware of that, Alice, I see you have your water, but if you run out, you know, go get some water. And it's all right to take a break from this mediation at
Okay.
any time you want. It's a really a relaxed environment, and we're not here to rush.
Okay.
So yeah, take our time. But one thing we can take advantage of right now while we're here sitting alone, maybe is just to check in with you. I know you haven't gotten to tell your side of the story, but just how are you feeling?
I'm just shocked by how absurd this is all.
Oh,
Like this entire situation is, because honestly, I think he's making a real big deal out of nothing. I
Okay.
mean, we've been in this neighborhood for 10 years. You know, everyone knows that we're pretty left-sided. You know, we like relaxing, and we could be considered avant-garde by others, but you know, it's just how we are.
If I could I just kind of want to see how you're feeling, because I really want you to let Drew know what you're
It's
about
just-
to say. This is all important things, and once Drew gets his water, and he is here now, so
Mhm.
if you'd like to start then with your side of the story, and
Okay.
keep on going from where you're at, I guess, or just start and tell us your side of the story.
Okay. So, the reason why I'm here, mediation, is because my husband and I, we feel threatened because
Okay.
Drew left a significant part of his story unsaid.
Oh, okay. What was that?
So, there's
What do
a
you,
sign
wait a minute. Let me say something. What do you mean I left it unsaid?
There's a
I think
sign.
she's about to let us know.
that says,
Maybe.
no nudity allowed, children present.
And can you repeat that, please?
No nudity allowed, children present.
Okay.
And you have to really take in the contents of what that means. Simple, it means simply what it says.
What context?
If I can't communicate that to her when
It
I'm
makes
trying
it
to talk
sound
to her,
like
Okay,
we're
that's why
So
Wow.
you, you
Sign
should
that.
definitely
Tell
have
her
different
that.
perceptions on what this sign means.
No,
So I
it
know
says
where you're
children are present, and we should all respect children because we're adults.
at. Right.
And
I
I
don't
would
think-
rather have told her this, but since I was robbed of the opportunity to do that,
I don't
maybe
think
she can read better than
maybe,
she can
maybe
hear.
we'll just let her keep going with her side of the story. I know you were going.
We'll-
Those are all valid
pick up from
valid examples,
yeah.
man. But-
So let's have you again pick up from your side of the story, and again we have all the time in the world. I don't want to.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound.
It's
Yeah,
all right.
write
It's
some
all
things
right.
down
No.
and make sure you don't
Yeah,
forget
let's,
what you have to say.
Looks like-
So do you need a pen, pencil? Okay, you're good.
And so we're all adults here. It takes some time. I know sometimes we might feel strongly about something, but by writing some of these thoughts down, we're able to better organize what we want to say. And so when we get that opportunity, we'll say it. So Mrs. Alice, you were in the middle of explaining the sign, but actually, so you said there's no nudity allowed sign. Do you mind rewinding just a little bit?
Of course, I just
Starting-
mentioned that to really reiterate the importance of this mediation, to the and connect it to the fact that it could lead to legal disputes.
Okay.
Yes.
So
Yes.
this has escalated to
Yes.
potentially that.
And this is a step right now we're taking in having this mediation to maybe not get to that point. But
Mhm.
I think we all recognize
Is that a threat?
Yeah, it is a threat. I guess if you would want to consider it that way.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay, so let's continue with your side.
we need to address this threat first. It's a threat that she's saying because she feels there's no communication. She's here today just to talk.
Well, that sounds. I don't know if she's necessary.
You
Is
know,
that what
you
you're saying?
guys are hurting our reputation. It makes us sound like we're pedophiles, which we are not. We are
Right.
not.
Right.
I mean, feel free to do a background check. Feel free to talk to other members of the community that you haven't been talking to, actually, as far as we've been noticing.
Well, you
So-
have the
so-
choice to do what you
so
want.
before we-
You know,
before
that's
we,
what's wrong with you
I'm
people.
sorry to
These
interrupt.
liberals, they
We
come
are
in
here-
and they think they can
We're
do
here,
whatever
and
they want.
I want to first of
I
all
work hard.
thank you for both of you
Right.
for agreeing to be here in this atmosphere of mediation. But please both know that because you are in a mediation, we do have certain rules and regulations, and we would appreciate it that this is all of our time shared together, and since we are coordinating this mediation, we're gonna go by a particular way that we feel it is right, because what we said in the beginning is effective communication, and we all know sometimes raising our voices isn't exactly the most effective way to get our points across. So you both have your papers, and if you have any thoughts that you need to put down, please do so right now.
And there's
And-
definitely going to be a time where you can exchange your thoughts back and forth.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Right now,
We
we're-
will get there.
We're
We
digging,
will
we're
get there.
digging to the underlying issues that Caitlin, or excuse
I'm
me,
sorry, I didn't mean to cut her off.
Alice,
Go ahead.
sorry, that
Go ahead.
Alice is having. So
I just, sometimes I just not.
it's okay.
I'm sorry.
And conflicts and letting each other know how you feel is not an easy situation to be in. It's not easy to hear yourself being talked negatively upon. So
It will take some getting used to, but the moment you feel that emotion rising up, you have your pen and you have your paper, write these thoughts down, and I promise we will get to them. Okay, so Mrs. Alice, again, you were talking about some of your values and your standpoint and your perspective of the situation. Please continue.
Okay, so I'll just start from the very beginning. We
Okay.
moved into the
That's good.
community 10 years ago.
10 years. So
Yeah.
you've been 10 years resident.
Yeah, 10 years resident. And the reason why we moved over is because my husband opened a pub nearby,
Okay.
and it's really taken off. So we are really successful on that end. And I just finished law school, and I'm helping out at a practice. Unfortunately, that practice is like around 2 hours away, so it's a pretty tough commute.
Okay.
That'll be important later on.
What's that?
Hmm?
Oh, sorry. I misunderstood. I'm sorry about that.
Okay. And yeah, we personally don't have children of our own. We don't think we're ready for it. And we're just mainly enjoying our early 30s right now at the moment. We have been doing so well though at the pub that we managed to invest $30,000 in, getting all of the works done, hot tub, like this really large fence that's 8 feet tall, for some privacy, all that kind of stuff.
to enjoy your leisure time.
Yeah, exactly. We've been working hard, and we want to at least enjoy our backyard just as my neighbor would like to enjoy theirs.
Okay.
And Drew did mention that he didn't want to live with restriction, but I feel as though he's kind of contradicting himself with the sign and asserting his beliefs. on
Can
me.
you go back to your narrative? Just to get an idea of the chronologically, the order of the story.
Okay. So what happened was one evening was we just wanted to relax in our hot tub, and we decided not to do it with any clothes on, which is completely okay in our opinion.
So this is a one-time thing. It's not something you do often.
Oh, we've done this
Okay.
like a couple of times
Okay,
in a
just
week.
wanted to
So
clear that up.
yeah, but we always make sure that nobody's watching. And unfortunately, our neighbor peeked through a hole in the fence and saw.
Keyword, peeked through.
Now, Mr. Drew, you have your pen and paper.
So you
We're
say
gonna continue.
you do your best to make sure nobody's watching.
Yes, we do our best to make sure that nobody's watching because, after all, it's more of a private experience rather than
Okay.
a show. And yeah, it's just very natural. We don't do like any funny business outside because we're obviously aware that we are still, out in the public. It's just, relaxing in the nude, just experiencing the human body and whatnot. And okay, so he did mention that he tried to communicate with me that his issues and whatnot because he has kids. But that morning, I remember I was taking on a new case. I woke up late, and I was in a real big rush to get to work. And honestly, I felt rather threatened because he was like he came over in a rush. He was just screaming at me, like calling me a pervert, calling me and my husband like pedophiles, and
He came over and was screaming you guys are pedophiles, or was he insinuating that you were pedophiles?
no, he was like upright yelling at me, like crossed over to our yard, was yelling at
There's
me.
no reason to tell lies.
No,
And
I'm not
called
telling
you-
any
and
lies.
and he called you a pedophile?
Yeah, he was calling me a pedophile, calling me like a pervert.
Now, are you sure verbatim that's what was said? Because right now we're hearing two different perspectives of what happened in that moment. As Mr. Dre, Mr. Drew had
Just had a W.
had answered. He said that he had just simply tried to talk to you, and you're saying that he was yelling at you. So if we have a inconsistency.
So why are you taking his opinion over
Well,
mine?
you're a woman of law, so we're just trying to get to the point that understand it. You have a valid opinion, so what you're saying should have truth to it, but what he's saying should also have truth to it. But there seems to be a middle point where you say he's lying and he says you're lying, and it's just kind of a big issue. It's poisonous statement to say that you're a pedophile or they're pervert, and there's underlying intentions behind those statements. And if those were actually said, then maybe one of you two could clear up.
Yeah.
Well,
what? I'm sorry.
no, go ahead.
When you
Not
so
sure
let's
what
let's
wrong
ask
with
some open-ended questions. When you hear
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so he said you're a pervert and a pedophile, and these really strike a nerve with you. Disrespectful, maybe, or
Yeah, and especially as a practitioner of the law, to be called that a criminal is
Okay.
particularly insulting. Even though we don't have children, I have nieces and nephews,
so.
so it strikes a personal chord to me as well.
Okay, yeah. So it seems like that would strike a personal chord with many people. It's not necessarily welcoming to receive negative comments about yourself. So you have every right to feel upset. But after you hear these negative statements, did you get in your car and then drive off, or did you try and address why he was calling you this?
She drove off.
Yeah,
Drove off?
because honestly, I didn't want to deal with that, and I was already late to work.
Okay. So maybe today we could maybe expand on the reasons behind those statements, because they seem to really strike a nerve with you.
Exactly, that would
Okay,
be
so
good.
we could definitely touch upon that later. With Jeremy.
I would like to know why she thought she was good enough to just leave and not.
Okay.
I'm good enough. I
Yeah.
earned my spot in the community. We earned it. We've been living there for 10 years, and you know exactly how
Right,
expensive it is.
Okay, well, Mrs. Ellis, thank you for sharing your side. Looks like we got a very detailed,
I work
a
hard.
better detailed picture of what happened. Is there any last comments you want to make towards us, not towards Mr. Drew, but to us?
I would
about-
like to reiterate, though, that we do feel threatened
Okay.
by
Right.
the sign. It's libel. It's not correct. It's implying that we have ill intentions, and it's affecting, our publicity, our reputation in the community. My husband is a business owner. I'm a practitioner of law. I can't have this. We can't have this.
Okay.
Okay.
Definitely.
So the sign you feel is negatively affecting the reputation in
Yeah.
the community.
Now, I just want to also clarify one more time. So, ever since this whole sign was put up, was there any law charges pressed or anything from any side, just to make sure?
No, we're considering it, though.
Okay, now,
Good to know.
so let's explore that a little bit. You're considering taking this to court. This is pretty serious, which means it's pretty serious. But we're here at a mediation. Why do you feel like it is to that extent of it needs to be taken, that you would go so far to sue Mr. Andrew?
Negatively affecting our business.
Okay.
Negatively affecting. It's a clear correlation because people are asking my husband, like, hey, so do you guys like fuck in the backyard? And it suddenly took a very private thing and made it horrendously public.
Okay.
And the reason why we had that 8-foot fence was to make sure that this was private.
I see. So you felt exposed. You must have felt take disrespected.
Yeah.
To you.
Right?
Well,
Just one more question.
yeah, please.
when
I want
when
to
you
hear
have
say something.
now you said you felt like your reputation was on the line and your stance here in the community. So if I'm hearing this correctly, are you saying that this is to the same degree that would qualify for suing another party?
I mean, I
Is this
believe
something you're convinced that this is the one way to fix this issue?
Okay, so I get what you're trying to say. Legal battles are not easy. It's a lot of resources and a lot of money spent. And honestly, I don't want to lose money on an absurd problem like this.
Okay.
But this problem could potentially cost us more money than if we don't take any action with it.
Can you explain that a little bit?
So, assuming, that nothing happens, that the sign is still kept, and our reputation continues to, go down to the shit, then we're just going to lose money after that. We're going to lose our reputation. We might lose our jobs, worst case scenario. But I sincerely would like to avoid legal battles, but it's just an option that we are willing to take.
Okay. And why have you not yet chosen to press charges? I'm not implying anything. I'm not suggesting anything, but I'm out of curiosity. Is there a reason why you decide to still hold off on it? Maybe you're unsure, or is this?
I mean, honestly, it's just a sign. If it were taken down, and if Drew could, I don't know.
Andrew, Mr. Andrew.
Yeah, go ahead.
Talk?
I'm sorry about that.
I don't know. It's
You said talk, communicate.
I communicate with the rest of the members because Drew, he's clearly expressing his concerns, which is totally understandable to other members of the community, and that's being reflected back on us, and it's just making a huge mess out of everything.
Okay, so
Yeah.
threaten, like reputations threaten,
Yeah.
negatively affecting business.
Mm-hmm.
You say your worst case scenario is losing your job.
Can I say
Yeah.
one thing?
Yeah, we're gonna come right to you actually right now. We're just kind of wrapping up, so go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Drew.
I just want to say, the sign said something simple and plain.
Mhm.
No nudity around children. It didn't say I'm saying anything specifically about her. We keep talking about her money and her reputation and her job and her 8-foot
nudity
wall.
allowed
and
where?
her 8-foot
Outside of the
wall.
house? Inside of the
Look,
house?
it doesn't
We're not
mean
even-
anything just because she has money and they think they can do whatever they want just because they have money. All I'm doing is making a simple statement on my property on a sign. Now, if you get offended because you feel some subliminal message through it, that should be a response to stop being naked in front of kids.
Well, maybe her issue.
And maybe a sign wouldn't be there.
good. Maybe
right?
her issue is that sign is direct and it is what you're reading.
It
Nobody
doesn't
react-
point next door there are
Okay,
people that
that
are
is-
naked in front of
That's
my
very
kids.
true. That is true.
Here's
I'm
some-
really subliminally communicating to her since I couldn't talk to her verbally and telling her that, hey, stop getting naked around your kids.
But
I mean, my
she's
kids.
recognizing
Excuse
that that's passively promoted towards her, like that.
Okay, I can
that
see
sign.
that. I
So
can see
she's
that. I can
afraid-
honestly say I see that right now.
Since you honestly say that, could you see that other neighbors might also know that sign's hinting to that next door neighbor? Isn't it a reasonable thought?
Then I would hope that I'm speaking up for them.
And if you are,
Because
this is
they're
what
their
she's
neighbors
getting
and they're
at.
seeing them naked too.
I think this is what she's getting at is the neighbors taking that sign for what it is and her losing her business because that's a direct assault.
So why would she not talk to me and say, hey,
Yeah.
what's good?
And
Is there a problem with us being
that's
nude or
important.
naked or
That's what we're
that?
here
And
today.
that didn't happen, and that's why I asked for a mediation because I want to find out why are you doing this and stop doing this.
Yeah, and we
Really, if
and
anything,
we-
not even
you know,
why. I just would like to say, stop doing this.
And I think it was a smart move to call a mediation because before either of you took any legal action, a mediation is always a smart way to go. I always say that. But my question for you is, what were some of the thoughts and feelings you had now that you actually, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is your first time sitting face to face in front of each other.
Yeah.
Am I correct?
I'll have to honestly say yes.
Yes. Okay. So now
Good thing to
that
point
you have heard some of these negative thoughts and feelings that Mrs. Alice was feeling. Was this some sort of revelation or epiphany to you? Can you expound on how did you feel now that you're hearing her side?
Okay.
Do you understand where she's coming from?
First of all, I felt like, as you mentioned, an 8-foot wall. Like, you know what I mean? Like, who has the money to just build 8-foot walls? Well, obviously, you got enough money to build it and you care about your privacy, but I can still see you in the nude.
Okay.
Right? Number 2 is, if you can see if somebody's trying to communicate with you or trying to get a hold of you or reach you, and you would blatantly just ignore them, then that says something about you.
Okay.
That's what that, to me, in my world, that says something about your character.
Is there something very funny?
When you...
No, I find it funny at how ignorant he's being.
Okay.
Yeah, so,
well, I'm ignorant, and you're nude around children, so you must be a pervert.
Oh, see? Exactly. This is where it's coming from.
So right now, the conversation right now is between us, 2 mediators, and Mr. Drew. So
are you hindering my right to react to this? I'm not
not
at all.
Not at all. And again, I apologize. I don't mean to step on anyone's toes, but right now, as we facilitate this discussion, Mr. Drew.
I thought she had her chance to speak and ramble. Yes. And now I would like my chance to talk.
Yes, and we will come back to it exactly.
That's why I called you here.
Too,
so that's why I called you here.
So that's
a lot of tension here, man.
Well, no, it's not tension. It's just when people thinking they're better than someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like
and then exactly what do you think you're doing right now?
We said earlier,
but that doesn't make me less.
Like we said earlier, if you have any thoughts, if you have any things you'd like to express, please write them down.
And now I'm going to tell her.
And I 100% promise, we are going to address those. Every single one of the statements you'd like to write down, we will address them.
Write it down.
Please do so. I believe it is effective. It's efficient. We'll be able to cover much more ground once we address piece by piece.
It's not a matter of you speaking fast to get your points across with each other. Either take your time and really.
Yeah. I'm sorry. This is just an emotional subject. I don't mean to.
No worries. We understand. That's the reason why we have these papers. So that's the reason why we have.
I'm trying to communicate to you exactly what my issues are. Let me be real specific. I wanted to talk to you in person. I couldn't do that. When I couldn't do that, I also felt that there was disrespect behind it, in the sense that you think you are better than me. Also, I think that you are so liberal that you don't care or have any concern about the people that are around you.
You're speaking to us right now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me start from the top. What my major number one reason I needed to have this mediation is because she wouldn't give me the chance to talk to her. You know, I understand that people are busy. I understand that people have obligations. I understand that people might be on their way to work.
Okay.
But I'm still a human being. 1, 2, I'm her neighbor. And if your neighbor is trying to contact you in the morning physically in front of you, hey, I need to talk to you, then it would be the most respectful thing to stop and talk. Now, she says that I was cussing and running and ramping. I'm no rabid bear or animal. I'm not going to come out of the house screaming and roaring. I really just wanted to tell her, number one, she probably seen that I was serious and that it was an irritating issue, but I'm not menacing. You know, I'm a black man. You know, I might be scary if I come out and seem like I'm irritated, but I just wanted to talk. I didn't disrespect her. I want to make that clear. I wanted to talk to her. That's what I want to make clear. Right. Despite whatever she's telling you about me yelling or whatever, I might have yelled when she drove off. I can admit that. But she was already driving off and that already disrespected me. Okay. Prior to that, there was no attempt on her end to reach me to find out what I wanted to talk about or to say anything. Henceforth, why I have tried to go forward with this mediation.
Okay. So, did you have to say anything?
I want to say another thing, too, since I can say something, and I actually wrote this down. I have no animosity towards her as a neighbor. Okay. I have no problem with you getting naked or your personal beliefs. My major problem is that I don't think that you have a concern that you're being nude around children. There's children around. And I feel that children don't have a choice to pick and choose where they're going to be and what they're going to see. They can only just be exposed to things.
Okay.
And I know that even though I don't have money to build an 8-foot fence on my end, I'm a hardworking American. You know, I want to say that, and I deserve to be able to have my children live in a clean and acceptable environment, which is not any adults being naked around the time when, you know, they pop in their TV dinners and eat.
Sure.
Okay, so just a second. Alice, I just wanted to clear up what he's trying to say. I think he's trying to get at, he wanted to talk in the beginning, and this is what his whole problem was, that he couldn't talk to you. And he's also concerned about his children's well-being, and he feels in his mind that exposing children to nudity and adults is maybe going to affect their
Development.
Development. Thank you. Their proper development in your eyes. But he feels that by you driving off, it was disrespect, and that's just kind of what he was getting. I just wanted to clear up what he was saying, because I know it's not easy to understand what people are saying when, you know, it's directed at you and it's about you. So
Can I say that?
yeah, keep going. We'll go back to you.
No, go ahead.
Okay. I was gonna say to Mr. Drew that I was listening very carefully to what you're saying, and just so you know, we're here to listen. We're just to listen and take into account everything that you said. It appears to me that there's many layers to this issue, and I think we can all agree that while there is the initial shock of the children possibly seeing the nudity, but then there's other issues and how you felt in that second interaction.
That's important to point out. There's more issues.
There's more issues here,
and I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what I want to talk about. Is my life.
Sure.
And because I think there's a deeper issue here, and I want to make sure one thing is clear. I'm a person that commands respect because I feel like I've earned it, and I was raised to show respect. And I don't think respect comes out of how much money you have out of your pocket. And it really upsets me to just see people think that because they have money, they can do what they want or force their beliefs on somebody. You know, especially the hardworking people of America like myself.
Okay.
I pay taxes. I vote. You know.
A hardworking man.
Right.
Yes. I totally hear you. Totally understand. Now, if you don't mind me pausing for a quick moment, Mrs. Alice. Now, having heard some of his deep feelings about this, your second interaction about you pulling away, and you not knowing this information previously, knowing this information, are there certain things you like to say in addressing some of the feelings that he has had? Because obviously you did not intentionally mean to make him feel disrespected or feel certain ways. What is your, please, now talking to him directly, not to us, tell him some of your feelings and thoughts in response to some of his negative feelings.
Well, I can sympathize, how frustrating it would be if I were trying to get a hold of someone and they just drove off without any reason. So for that, I apologize, because that can be really frustrating.
Thank you.
However,
I'll just say thank you.
Yeah.
For the apology. Thank you.
And also, I sympathize with you being a hardworking American, because that's what we all are. In order to, live in the neighborhood that we're living in, we need to, really work hard to be here. So I respect you and your wife and your children, for having a good environment. However, there was one thing that I had a slight issue with, and that was with you saying that you command respect, that you deserve respect. Mm-hmm. And I firmly believe that you earn respect, that it is to be earned, it is not entitled. And honestly, I felt like from the passive-aggressive sign, from, you expressing to people a very private thing between me and my husband to other members of the community who have taken it and have blasted it in a very inappropriate way, it's made it, I honestly can't feel as though you've earned respect from me on that basis.
So, okay.
Wait a minute. First of all, you have to have proof of these statements that she's saying about me telling other neighbors. If there's a hole in my fence and I can see you naked, then maybe there might be a hole in someone else's fence that you share. you know, as
But-
neighbors.
But first,
And maybe
That's a
people
reasonable thought.
it is
Maybe
very
people
reasonable.
see through windows and people talk.
But okay.
So to put and project all that on me is another reason why,
But
once
you're the one
again,
that's making it
I have a
vocal.
problem.
Sure.
I feel
And-
there's some arrogance here
Yes, but let's
against me.
take one thing at a time. The moment she said she understands how you felt in that initial point, and that she apologizes, do you receive that apology?
Yeah, that's what I did
Okay,
say.
and
I
let's
did
take,
say
and
that.
I think we're taking some small steps right now. And there's other things all of a sudden that are coming up. You know, some other different viewpoints. I think at this point, and my colleague, you can disagree with me or not, but maybe we should take some time to have a moment of one-on-one caucus.
Okay, that's a good
Because
idea.
I think there's a lot of underlying details here that are coming up, and apparently, you know, there's a lot of reactions from both parties when we're trying to get into some of these nitty gritty details. So why don't we take the next 20 minutes or so to just have a caucus?
So that's gonna we're gonna ask one of the parties to leave, and then we're gonna kind of get the feel of each party personally.
And we're gonna bring up some of the points that both of you
I
said.
just want to make sure, like, while I'm leaving, like, my character's not getting attacked, and because I called this, I wanted to have a mediation because,
Yes.
you know,
Everything is-
I want to make sure everything's fair. So if I
Everything
leave
is
the
fair.
room, it's not going to be a one-sided thing.
Okay,
because
so let's establish maybe some of your interests right here, right now. You wanted to make sure that she understood that you wanted to talk. You really wanted to talk, and that's you showing what you feel respect is
Yeah,
talking about
I want to feel like you know, obviously when I said I wanted to talk, like, my voice is not worth anything. Like, oh, you know,
Right.
I'm just a Mr. Liberal over here with some money. I can do what I want. I don't even have to talk to my neighbors. Like,
And
no,
you're
wait a
doing
minute. You
this
have to
because
talk to me.
it's out of the best intentions for your
Right.
kids, right?
Right.
So they're meaningful,
kids come
moral
first.
intentions. He has valid intentions behind
Yes.
what he is doing.
And so as we do this caucus, I want to reassure both of you.
All right.
This will be an unbiased session in our
I
one-on-one.
trust you guys
Yes,
to do this.
of course,
so,
and we thank
can
you,
go first.
and we thank you for allowing us to do this because we are trustworthy. So first, we're gonna start off. Actually, we'll start off with you. So, and we're gonna ask Miss Alice to please step out until we tell you to come back in,
Okay.
and then we're gonna continue from your
That's
side.
good. I feel better
and
to do it
do
first
vice versa.
now that I know.
Okay.
You know, 'cause I thought you guys she was going to talk bad about me.
Okay.
Let's
So
do it.
how are you feeling, Mr. Drew? I mean,
Well,
Mr. Dre.
I'm feeling positive, number one, because I was able to take, like you said, when you told me I did a good job taking the first step by agreeing to be here. That kind of resonated with me.
Okay.
Yeah, good
You
job,
know,
man. And
because
you're
I could
doing
be thinking
important
about, she's complaining about a sign, you know, but I could have broke a window or, you know, I could have been stooped down.
It
to
could have
another
always
level
been
or
worse.
something-
It could have been
something,
a lot
but,
worse.
you know, I'm choosing to take this route of, you know,
and it's a
attempting to
mature,
communicate.
respectful manner. It's
Right.
not-
And I have no animosity, and I just want to get that out of the way and say,
Okay.
you know, as a black man,
No animosity.
you know, I feel like, you know,
Got you.
people are a little off put when they see an African American in an affluent neighborhood like this, so they don't really want anybody telling them anything. It's kind of like they got President Obama right now, like, you know, he's a black president, but then, you know, everybody's mad because they're just not used to a black man having to complain or having to say anything.
Right.
I feel like I pay enough to be in here. I might not have money for an 8-foot wall, but, you know, my family are Americans too, and we should be able to, you know,
So let's ask a few.
live how we want to live. You know what I
We'll
mean?
address
Let's-
that with
let's-
her when we'll further maybe on reasons of her feeling uncomfortable with a black
Right.
person living in
It's
that.
like she looked like she was ready to like run from me when I just came out of the house,
Okay.
ready to just tell her something simple and plain.
let's ask a few questions. Right before we convene this, I'm sorry. Right before we called this the caucus, you were both obviously clashing in this whole sign issue, and it keeps going back to this sign. And I want to explore that a little bit because obviously you had your reasons in your mind to put up the sign, and then even now in this past half hour, you heard her perspective on how she reacted to the sign, how she felt. Her community. Her reputation in the community. We're talking about her business being possibly lost. and all
Yeah,
these
I don't
things.
know. I didn't know she has a business. I'm just saying.
And plus, and so now you're knowing all these new information.
Okay, yeah,
And
right,
and you just told us you have no animosity towards her.
right.
Now, this. Let's be real here. This could escalate easily into a court case. So
Well, now I know that as well, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you now. Tell me a little bit about your how you're foreseeing your action if you were to if you're considering to take down the sign or to keep it. What are some of your thoughts on that?
Wait, what do you mean? Like, are you saying like, how do I feel about keeping it up? How do I feel about taking it down?
I'm sorry. Let me rephrase that.
Yes.
How do you feel now that she's voiced out the pain that she's felt that the sign has brought, and that you have told us you have no animosity?
If I had to be honest with you, I'm
Okay.
satisfied because that's what I wanted the sign to do.
Okay.
Was to wake her game up and say, hello, directly, we don't accept this. It's not acceptable where I'm living at. You know what I mean? To
Okay.
my moral standard. Like, I don't want my kids seeing anybody naked, especially growing up, like, looking at their naked neighbors. If I could see it as a grown man, what do you think my kids are going to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I just don't believe in that.
How come
You know?
you didn't try to talk to her again after she drove off?
Well, this is the thing. She hasn't made herself available for me to see.
Oh, is
I
there
don't
one
have her
around
number.
or what?
And if she runs away from me when I'm seeing her in the morning, when I'm leaving for work too, dressed up like a man going to work, I obviously still look like an angry black man coming at her. So
Okay.
I kind of gave it some time. And obviously I made the move to call for a mediation,
Right.
you know. So my whole thing is I want her to hear what I'm telling her right now. I'm
Okay.
going beyond just the sign.
Okay.
The sign was just something to get her personal attention. That's
Okay.
all that she's messed
Now
up.
let's
She's
say
upset about.
so. Let's say everything that she did say comes to pass, and she loses her respect in the community. She
Right.
loses her job. She
Right.
loses her her position and other things that her hand is in, and her. Let's just assume the worst case scenario: her entire career is destroyed by this one sign. I know it's a bit ridiculous, but let's
No.
consider,
I
let's,
hear what
let's,
you're saying.
let's
Right,
consider that.
right.
Now, would that in any way, shape, or form make you want to reconsider at least your approach and how to get her attention?
Well, right now I feel like I got her attention, so I feel like the sign did its job.
Okay.
So
Okay.
if
Okay. So
if it did already ruin her whole reputation and ruin everything that was going on with her, I didn't intend for that to happen. But I still can't say I don't regret putting the sign up because my original intention to put the sign up was to communicate the message that she would not let me tell
I
her
see.
verbally. So since she obviously is good at driving, when she drove off, I thought she would read it like a street sign
okay.
and get the message clear.
So
So she has a problem with the sign, so it's safe to say that you've accomplished what you set out to do with
Right,
the sign.
right.
So-
I don't have to keep the sign up now.
Okay.
Now I've
And-
called a mediation so she can
Interesting.
really hear what I'm talking about.
So you would even consider removing the sign because you have her attention now.
I could do that now.
Yeah, it's an option.
It is
Okay.
an option now. But at the same time, what if I take the sign down and she's out the next night naked?
We need to establish
We're
some
gonna-
type of communication.
we'll get there.
Right. What's gonna assure me
Yes.
that she's gonna
After
honor
this
this?
mediation is gonna
Sure.
Is she gonna sign a contract?
Right.
Yeah.
And we gotta address
gonna
all
get-
that. And
we're
those are
gonna
all
You know what I mean?
very
These people
important.
obviously live loose, bro.
Everything
You know
sounds
what I mean?
nice, right? But until people actually do it, it's a whole different story. So
Okay.
Then I just want to tell you this, man. Like I know you guys are black or whatever, you know what I mean. But I come from the hood, but I went to school. I got a job. I'm here, but every day I still get approached by some people in this neighborhood. Like when I'm jogging, or if I wanted to go ring on the neighbor's doorbell, like you know what I mean, like I'm stereotyped, like they're scared of me or something. Like I honestly tell you that I think she's got an issue with me. You know what I mean?
So you're saying you're bringing in so you're possibly
I
talking
think it's
about race.
deeper than what it is.
Okay.
Because
All right.
number one, you would talk to your neighbor if they wanted to tell you something. You know what I mean? Why would it be this hard to communicate?
do you
you
think
know?
she's intimidated?
Well, it's either I think she thinks number one that I'm a black man and that I don't have as much money as them, and they don't gotta listen to me.
Okay.
I want to just backtrack just a little bit because we're hearing a lot of new information here. So, if to sum it up, you said originally you intended no animosity towards Mrs. Ellis.
Never.
Your goal in the was to accomplish with the sign was to simply get her attention because she was not giving you the time of day, and even though you did not intend for her to feel disrespected or feel like her position in the community would be compromised, you feel like you were still able to accomplish getting her attention,
Right.
but you still have no animosity towards her directly.
No, I don't know. I don't know these people. Okay,
Okay.
let me tell you that. Like, I don't know them. But I still feel like if you're my neighbor, I should at least be able to tell you something without you thinking that I'm just some kind of, random stranger or some robber or thug or, criminal or crook. So I wear a suit when I go to work.
Okay, and now
So how intimidating can I be,
Yeah.
And she's saying that coming out cussing, she's a liar. You know what I mean? I really think she's a liar.
So you don't remember cussing at her or calling her?
No, I think she's a liar, and I think she's arrogant. You know what I mean? And I think she thinks she's better than me.
Okay.
And I really underline, I really think she's racist.
And those are all very strong accusations, and those are deep accusations that you're making.
But let's bring it back. You just after all these other issues, you're, aside from it being a race issue, you're just a man who really cares for your kids. Is that correct?
That's first and foremost.
First and foremost,
and
you just
you
decide.
know what? And that's what I'm glad you at least listen to me. And that's what I said.
It's really all about
the
your
kids
family.
come first.
The kids come first.
And when I seen someone, compromising my kids' safety or their well-being, this concerns me.
Okay.
And luckily, I was able to see this first before my children.
Okay.
Because please believe, if my kids hadn't seen it first and they had told me, I might have reacted like and fit into her stereotype.
And so all
I'm
this
glad that didn't happen.
raw frustration and emotion just started off with your concern for your children's well-being, both,
Right.
mentally and emotionally, and what they're going to see. Is that correct?
True.
Okay.
So we got to figure out more than just a sign. There has to be a solution so your children will not, further be compromised of their innocence, their
Yes.
Right. I mean, come on. I got kids. I'll be real with the age, man. I got a daughter. She's 12. I got a son. He's 8. And I got a little daughter. She's about, I forget every now and then. So,
yeah, they're all it's all right. Yeah,
you know what I mean? These kids pop out like, potatoes, man.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean?
So,
do what we do.
So would you
I work hard.
So how do you feel if we wrap up this caucus and we will hear Mrs. Alice's side? Because do you feel like you were able to get out?
Yeah, well, I just had I had a few more things to say, and
okay. Yeah, totally.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah, don't rush
I didn't
me,
mean
bro.
to rush. Yeah, I'm not.
No problem. A few more things to add is that I feel, first of all, if you build an 8-foot wall, then you're saying that you obviously have something to hide, or you're fencing up. So you gotta understand what a fence communicates. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Like a fence projects number 2 things. Okay, yeah, that they do want to be private, but at the same time, when you make it 8 feet tall, you know what I mean? You are projecting that you might be better than somebody. Like, I ain't gonna lie. Like, I work hard, and I'm just wasting money on an 8-foot fence and a sauna in the back and a new patio, and you know what I mean? Like, you think you would be able to just fix a hole or communicate back with somebody next door, but when you build all of that and you can't take 2 seconds out your day to at least respond to me talking to you in the morning, that just shows that you think that you're better than me.
Okay, so you agreed that there's 2 perceptions that 2 routes they could have gone with making this fence. One that you said was privacy. They wanted to build for privacy. And then the second you said was to show that they're better than them, to be affluent.
Right, all right. We have a bigger fence.
So let's focus on that first one. What if it's reasonable and you agreed to it? What if that was their only intention? They understood that they were a nude family, so they put up an 8-foot fence with the knowledge that they were hiding themselves from you because they did not want to expose themselves.
And I would have believed that if she had talked to me when I first went and talked to her.
Okay.
But what threw me off is the skirting off and not making any attempt to talk to me after that. That to me, that says, well, now you're leaving it up for me to assume whatever. And the only thing to assume whatever beyond that is, hey, I don't give a fuck.
Right.
We're going to be naked. You're going to look through this hole. And you know what I mean? Your wife and your kids are going to see my cock. You know what I mean? Like,
well,
that's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is stuff, man. And it seems like you're really getting heated up
it's
again.
Disrespectful words,
it is
right?
Disrespectful.
But that's what it communicates to me. I'm sorry if that language was offensive, but that's what that behavior projects to me. And let me say something. I'm a godly person.
Mm-hmm.
I go to church.
Okay.
Even though I'm sad I even said what I said right now.
Right.
But I don't think these people even, have the same morals and the same upbringing that I had.
So do you need
So
them
I think
to
it's a
have
conflict
good
of
morals?
culture. Like
Do you need them to have good morals to result?
I really don't care what they have. I just want them to respect that there is children in the area, and that's why I really tried to
And
simplify
that's
it
really just the
into
bottom
a
line.
sign. It was a sign.
And
That's
what
the
will
bottom
show
line.
that? What will have them show you that they would do that? They respect. What would they have to do?
Well, obviously, go inspect your fence. You know what I mean? See if there's any breaches
Maybe
in
you
their fence.
inspect it with them and you let them know exactly. Because
I mean, I feel like that's not my job. I'm just saying on my side of the fence, I better not see a hole, and if there is, fix it.
Okay.
And I don't mind on my side of the fence. I'll be honest with you, like to fix the problem because I'm obviously the one that would like to find some kind of a solution in this. Yeah. That's a good idea. Let's find the holes on my side and at least fix those.
Okay.
Since I'm the one that's seeing and I'm the one that's complaining. Obviously, there's no other neighbors putting up signs or complaining.
But do you think that would be enough for you to feel at peace living like next door to your neighbor and in this mediation just to have this fence built? Is there more that you need?
I personally feel like I can't change their personal beliefs and lifestyle.
Of course.
I don't agree with them.
Yes.
Okay? But what I'm saying is for her to even be threatening now, like a lawsuit, that's kind of deep, bro. Because, you know, I came into this with intentions to voice my problems and to think that maybe if she made me feel better, then something would be, you know what I mean, level and playing. But now all of a sudden, she's saying she's threatening me. You know what I mean? I'm going to respond to a threat with my own threat.
Yeah,
now I can sue you.
Right.
And
so she took it to a whole other level.
Right, and that's
people
what I'm
do say
telling
things
her.
on their backs.
And that's what and that's when you guys do meet back with her, I would like you to inform her. I am considering my own suit because I want my kids to be free from that kind of stuff, which is not legal.
Okay.
And private is private. So if there's a breach in the fence, and she's a lawyer and everything, so if there's a breach in the fence, then that would be a breach of privacy, which means that's exposed to my children.
Okay.
So I can sue her for indecency in public because it's not private anymore.
So can I add one thing?
What's that?
Just how we started this caucus.
Right.
You said you had no animosity towards her, but I feel there's a bunch. It seems.
Well, let me just say this. You know what it might be is not animosity, but it's my concern that now she's threatening me with the lawsuit.
Okay. Could it
And
be,
what is my insurance that, I'm going to take the lawsuit down just because you took the sign down? Like, she could still get me for the action, at all. And we haven't talked about this. You know what I mean?
Do you think she has reasonable...
Judging on how she just talked to me and how the whole conversation was going when we were sitting here, there's no insurance for me to know that she's really not got it out for me.
Yeah,
How do I
you
know
think
that
she
she
has
does?
reasonable claims for a lawsuit?
Obviously, she stated it out and thinks that she does. And she sounds like she has animosity towards me. And that's what the issue is.
So we need to address that with her.
That would be nice.
Yes.
So if we came to a conclusion that she had no animosity, that would clear things up between you two. Maybe we could have better communication.
Right.
From there.
And to me, a lawsuit says animosity.
Absolutely. It could,
Yeah. So
definitely.
would you be open to reconsider your approach if for some reason she
How
was
can reconsider my approach when she can reconsider her approach? My approach is plain and simple.
Okay.
My main concern is I don't want my
Your
kids
children.
seeing no shit.
and it goes
like
back to your
that?
children?
Right. And now my new concern from being here today and hearing all the way she was talking to me and saying things, my new concern is, are you going to hit me with a lawsuit?
Okay.
So this is a sticky situation, and that's why
Right.
that's
And
why
we
me
need
and my
to-
partner
now
said
we
we
need
have
to talk.
plenty of time to
We
be
need to
here.
talk.
So we're gonna call her in probably. I think unless there's anything you feel like you should share with us or Jeremy, if you feel like
No,
anything.
I just want to what we're going to do before we end this caucus. I just want to do a quick recap of everything he said, and
Okay.
we're going to wrap up the caucus and move on to Mrs. Alice. Now, in the beginning, you made it clear that you have no animosity towards Mrs. Alice. Is that correct?
Right.
You also said that in the second conflict, when she ignored you, you were even considering that you felt disrespected, and you almost started thinking, is this a race issue? Is there something?
Not almost.
have-
Like I think it is.
So you think it is,
Doesn't
so-
make any other side.
okay.
What else am I supposed to be left with?
And plus you are, after hearing her and her willingness to go take this to the law, you are also considering to go with a countersuit with a counter.
I gotta defend
okay.
myself.
But you said at the very end of this caucus that at the very end of the day, your kids come first. It's
Right.
really about your genuine concern
First and foremost.
about your kids. Okay? And so everything that was said was correct. If I could
That's correct.
put
That's
it in a
correct.
nutshell.
That's very correct.
Okay, cool. And I promise you, we're gonna go back to all these statements. But right now, it seems that our time in our caucus is coming
Served
to a
its
wrap.
purpose, definitely.
Okay,
So we
and
can
how do you
transfer over.
now? Before we move on, how do you feel now that you've kind of gotten some of that out of your system? Do you feel a little?
Well, I feel more organized.
Yeah, because you're actually having.
But at the
some-
same time, like I said, it's plain and simple, man. Like I want the kids to not be able to see any naked people.
Of
Like,
course.
that doesn't
Of
need
course.
to be even debated with. And number two is, if you're gonna get and sue me, then I'm gonna sue you because
Sure.
I mean, shit, it makes sense for me
Yeah.
to try to sue them because
And
how
before-
do I know she's gonna stop disrespecting my kids?
Sure. Before we take any types of actions, at least you're able to get it all out of your
Right.
system.
But I'm not mad at her, and
Yes.
I have no animosity
You just
until I hear about this lawsuit thing.
Of course.
Now that forces me into a corner.
Okay.
So you see what I'm saying? right?
Totally, we totally understand
Okay,
what you're
cool.
saying. Okay, so thank you
Yeah,
so
no
much,
problem.
Mr. Drew.
So yeah, if you mind
I'm gonna get a
stepping
sandwich.
out of the room.
Yeah, go
Right.
Touching the laptop.
go get a sandwich, man. All right. So let's call Mrs. Alice. Mrs. Alice, can you please come here to the room, please?
Hello.
Hello.
How
How
was
you-
your break?
That was nice. I needed it.
Nice. Did you get snacks, water?
I drank some water.
All right, good. Hopefully you're comfortable and refreshed.
Yeah.
We had a successful caucus with Mr. Drew. We got a lot of information and found out a lot of his needs and interests, and that's what we're here to do with you privately.
Okay.
Yeah, sometimes it's good to just even have a quick bite to eat, and food always makes things a little more bearable, right? So, okay, so let's jump right into it. We did cover a lot of things with Mr. Drew, so we asked that you be as open-minded as possible. And for what we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask you. I'm gonna recap a little bit of some of the main points that we talked about with Mr. Drew, and I know we have actually a number of questions for you to kind of clear some of the air and ultimately get to our goal of establishing a clear communication. Now, whether you two want to come to a solid resolution or not is ultimately your choice. That's not our job. Just to make that clear again, if we haven't made that clear enough. So in our last conversation with Mr. Drew during the caucus, one of the main points that he said that towards you, he has no animosity. It might seem like there's a lot of raw emotion and frustration, but one thing he did emphasize to us is that at the base level, it's not an animosity towards you or anyone. However, we cannot ignore that there's an issue at hand. So that's one thing for you to, as some food for thought.
Okay.
His
And
animosity is coming from him worrying that his children aren't safe.
yes,
Mhm.
That's his main issue.
It also seemed like respect was a big issue as well.
Yeah,
Yes.
respect. There's actually many issues he brought up, but
Yeah.
there's just a couple.
which
so far.
we'll cover.
Okay.
And some of the claims that he made was during the moment of when you had that little exchange, that awkward exchange during that morning a few months ago. You hit the nail on the head. It was this respect, but he brought up an interesting point. He is convinced that now race is being brought into the issue. Now I understand
It's not allowed.
from your expressions right now.
It's not. I'm not laughing at how it's funny. I'm laughing at how absurd it is.
Okay,
That's
so
my reaction.
so
to
you
things.
use the word absurd. Now, can you elaborate on that?
Stupid. It's just stupid that he would claim that I'm racist.
Oh, because do you have
Yeah.
anything against black people?
I do
being,
not have anything against black people.
That's
As
all
a
we need to
person
know.
of culture,
That's all
as
we
a
need to
person
know.
of culture, as a person of color, that is not an issue.
And those are deep accusations that he was making, but he seemed pretty set and sure
Convinced.
that by you driving off, you were intimidated by maybe a black man and maybe some of the stereotypes that come into being the black man. So it was a sticky situation that he was bringing up, but we
Yeah.
really had to address this with you. And
But obviously, just to clear the air, plain and simple, you just have nothing against colored people.
this is not
Perfect.
anything to do with race. Is that true? That doesn't seem
There's
like.
nothing that this is
Yeah.
completely irrelevant.
Yeah.
I mean, anyone, regardless of race or gender identity, were to come over to, my car and, well, from my perspective, I don't know, because there's like no witnesses when this happened, so there's really no definite way of proving what exactly happened.
Yes.
But from my perspective, he was yelling at me, screaming all of these
Yes.
insults, and that made me feel threatened. And
Because
regard-
naturally anyone
yeah.
would feel threatened.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe when we come back together, we could have you direct this statement at him just to clear the air that you are not a racist, and it's clear that you believe in equality. So we'll have you address him with that. So we appreciate you clearing that up. And Jeremy has a couple questions, and we have a couple more issues to cover with you right here, right now. We're going to focus on you.
So,
Okay.
so you realized the obviously we all realized that there was damage done and during that same that same exchange on that day. You obviously didn't have any intentions to make any statements towards Mr. Drew's race. You were just in your mind, you were just going about your normal day, your normal day's business. However, now that you know the deep frustration and pain and disrespect that comes from him, would it be rational for you to agree with that's all these conclusions he's coming to? Does that make sense? Maybe how he might have come to some of those conclusions.
I can see that.
You can
I
see
can
that,
see that.
yes. He's at the end of the day, we were just listening to him, and he just overall just very upset because it was just about
The lawsuit. He's feeling intimidated. He feels threatened by the lawsuit itself. The first time he heard about it was today, and it really caught him off guard and kind of put his back up against the wall. And he's kind of, really hesitant and to go forward until he knows that this lawsuit is going to be backed off. And he doesn't quite understand why the lawsuit is in place, but he knows that you're a woman of law, and he knows that you have valid reasons and claims. So
But
we should address this lawsuit.
So all it was again, it just came from a place of feeling threatened because, ironically, you were feeling threatened, right? Originally, which is what led you to do your lawsuit in the first place. And but I think the way we're seeing it is there's just completely different perspectives that you guys are seeing and different feelings that are arising. And one of the last statements that he made was really at the end of the day he's just a man thinking about his kids. And would you agree that it is reasonable for a father in some way, shape, or form to be protective, whether in some ways, however extreme some of these reactions might be?
Maybe let's put yourself in the shoes of his, what, you say 12-year-old daughter? Or 8?
Yeah, 12-year-old son and 12-year-old daughter and 8-year-old son. And he did say that with this lawsuit that you're suing, he has a counter lawsuit, which it could easily escalate. But one thing we do want to provide for you is some food for thought, okay? Because
and that food for thought is your whole issue is negative publicity for you and your husband. It might negatively affect your business with your pub, and it's hurting your reputation. And you mentioned that the worst alternative to this is the worst case, the slippery slope, is you two losing your jobs. And that can't happen. I forgot where I was going with that, but yeah, you mind stepping in? Yeah, so your reputation, I forgot where I was going, excuse me. The worst alternative to this was you losing your job. And this lawsuit might bring more publicity than just this sign. So what I mean by that is maybe the community would see that this lawsuit has come into fruition, and then more people would look into this lawsuit and see why this lawsuit is, and maybe they would find out that it's because your neighbors think you're exposing your nudity. So couldn't that be an option for more negative publicity if this lawsuit comes out?
And also, that's a great point. Let's be clear here. You want to be the bigger person in this situation. Am I correct?
Yes.
In whatever that might look like. So, and I just want to
positive publicity.
And I want to offer you this potential possibility option.
Food for thought.
because now you know he's ready to fire back at any moment. He's ready to file this kind of lawsuit. But if you never pressed this lawsuit at all, and you took it in such a better way, in a more diplomatic position, and were willing to begin having this effective communication, I think that reflects your character in the community as well. Because I understand I understand the offenses on both sides. You must be truly offended by this sign. I see that. But while anyone might want to come to you and say you have a right to press these charges, could it be that you can even show the strength of your character by even putting this lawsuit down to say, I'm willing to talk this out?
Well,
Would you agree with me that might be a more positive effect on your reputation in the community if he's willing to also talk this out?
It is
That could be the best alternative to solving
it is the best alternative, but I feel as though that's idealistic.
Okay.
Okay, can you explain that?
Idealistic as in, that's what we would want to happen. That's, everyone to, live in the community of ease, no tension.
Mhm.
But honestly, like, it feels as though bringing up the race problem and the way he felt his very arrogant stance on what it means to be respected and to give respect. I'm not entirely sure if I could, trust him
Mm-hmm.
that he would take down the.
So it's a trust issue.
It's a trust issue for me,
I see.
and it feels as though our characters conflict,
Yes.
and I don't know if we can actually collaborate on anything
Yeah.
due to that.
Mhm.
And this is what we want to do, is collaborate. And
Mhm.
we don't want you to compromise, so don't feel that you need to compromise.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And exactly. So we don't want to push you off the ledge or feel like you're going to do something that's out of your character. However, we are just with you, helping explore the possibilities and the possibilities behind those possibilities. Because while you said that would be idealistic, and I think there's many good things that could come out of that, I don't think it's impossible. I know it might sound like, after that harsh exchange that you guys had earlier, I would have to say in our caucus there was some points of reason, and there was a willingness to negotiate, and I just wanted to, we're not asking you to make a decision right now, but we just want to present that to you for food for thought. And also, just to emphasize one more time, I know we said this before, but it really is about the kids at the end of the day. I'm sure you are just as concerned as children, just as anyone. I think we all are, because these are the our leaders of the future, and of course you. Let me ask you this: you have no bad intent towards children in any way. Is that correct?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I feel as though he might not fully understand that because I don't personally have children of my own, but I do have nieces and nephews.
Cool.
I think about that often. I try to visit them as much as I can.
Mhm.
I care for children.
Care for children. That's
I
it.
wouldn't-
That's the word.
Yeah.
So
I
in the
wouldn't-
beginning, when you guys were talking face to face, you said you had a little bit of sympathy. You could see kind of where he's understanding, but now you also looks like you have a little empathy as well, being able to see the situation from his shoes if your nieces and nephews were presented in the same situation. So
Yeah.
it's clear that your intentions aren't to, expose these children to you and yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And in fact, what was the reason for building the 8-foot fence?
For privacy
Okay.
and
That's it.
And maybe
Yeah.
to
Privacy.
not let the neighbors see in?
yeah.
Could that have been a thought?
Yeah, and then it wasn't brought to our attention beforehand that there were holes in our fence.
Yeah.
But we'll be happy to inspect that, and fix it. It's probably going to be very easy to fix that. But it's just like a matter of trust. It comes down to that.
It comes down to trust.
Because so far as I'm being presented by his character, it seems as though he objects not only to our personal freedoms, but my sense of my political views. Like
Yes.
calling me like a dirty liberal,
Mhm.
or he didn't specifically call me a dirty liberal, but the way he said liberal,
Yeah, the
it
way he said
implies
it.
it's
The way he said it.
although he
You took
claims
it
it,
in a negative way.
in a negative way. That's what I was.
Yeah, and all that to say is obviously I think in some way, shape, or form, we all have differing views and
Absolutely.
values and viewpoints.
Mhm.
But it also seems like, from what you just told me, you guys should actually. It so turns out that you guys actually share a lot of the same views. For example, your he is being a black man. You have nothing against colored people. As a matter of fact, you love colored people. Him having children, you have nothing against children. You value children. You have not necessarily children of your own, but you have children that you care for.
And you both agree that it's of best intentions not to expose children to
Yes.
excessive nudity.
You
That's
both-
not your intention.
And it also appears that you both want privacy and protection, and it says on your part, one of the last statements you said, that it just comes down to trust.
Mhm.
And honestly, we hear you loud and clear, and
Mhm.
I'm really thankful that you were able to at least clear some of the air with some of the question marks that we had, and apart from all the haziness of all the emotion that's there, because sometimes we can hear things and interpret them a certain way. In actuality, you guys actually share a lot of you guys actually do have, to some degree, some common ground. And once we close this caucus, that's where we will meet each other in some of these points of common ground, if you're willing to be diplomatic.
And if you're willing to
Okay.
continue going further with this.
So before you even make in your mind any choice of what you want to do with this lawsuit, just put that on hold, and let's go back to the discussion of some of these things that we were able to take from this caucus. Is that okay?
Okay.
And then before we go on further, just want to ask if there's anything else you want to share with us. This is your time to release your expressions to us without him hearing. So
Release.
anything you want to say to us, because we are in no rush. Relax and release your statements to us in however pace you want.
Okay. So
Are you okay? Did you need
I-
it?
take your
I'm just
time.
trying to collect my thoughts.
Okay.
Again, I see how the legal disputes could not only be financially hurtful, but it could also hurt our reputation as well
Yes.
by escalating this matter into something that's even larger than what it actually is.
That's a great word.
Mhm.
Escalate.
Mhm.
It could easily escalate into something that we wouldn't necessarily want.
But what he exactly wants is to restrain our freedom. I believe he said multiple times that he just doesn't want us doing anything at all, or at least in the nude
Mm-hmm.
in our backyard. And personally, I still feel as though that infringes on our.
Actually, I want to just do a quick clarification. In our last caucus with him, just to reframe what he was saying to us,
Mhm.
he said it wasn't that he didn't want you to continue doing what you're doing. He says he didn't want to see what you were
Okay.
doing. Just to clarify, because sometimes that could be misconstrued. But that was
Okay.
one of the statements he made to us, was that he said he didn't want to see any of that. Which I think you're on the exact same page too. You know, you wanted that when we talked about privacy and having the fence, because for a short bit we did talk about the fence issue, which we will cover later. But I 100% agree. Any type of legal disputes, especially in some of my mediations that I've done in the past, I promise you, it will always lead to just escalating, a lot more headaches, a lot more other things that come in. That's why, as mediators, we want to present as many different options that you can and facilitate that effective communication between you two.
And to make sure that this won't escalate further in the future, because this is also a level of this problem escalating, because you guys could handle this issue by yourselves if you have effective line of communication. That's the issue that you don't. But so the problem escalated to the point that you were in mediation right now.
Mhm.
So it's not something that you wanted, was it? Did you want to go to mediation, or didn't you want to solve this problem?
I do want to solve this problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so we should establish something so this won't reoccur in the future as well.
Okay.
So I feel comfortable in what you share with us, and what your beliefs are in. And if you have anything else you want to share with us, you can share with us right now. But I think it's be a good time to bring everybody in together.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Awesome. So let's
Do you
go
wanna
ahead.
Go and get. Mr. Drew.
Oh, Mr. Dre.
Drew.
Drew.
Yeah.
Is everything okay, Mr. Drew?
Yeah, I'm just grabbing
Yeah, take your time. Go get a water and snacks are down the hall if you need a break. Again, we're not in any rush. Oftentimes mediations take a couple days to get resolved. Okay.
You felt good about that break?
Welcome
Yeah,
back.
You got to
Welcome
clear your
back.
mind a little bit?
Yeah,
We had
definitely.
a very successful caucus, and you two both did an excellent job of being truthful and honest, and you really helped us out in establishing where we need to go from here.
And I think we can all agree that sometimes just sitting down and venting out all that frustration totally changes the atmosphere. It makes us feel a lot better. Just getting all that junk out. So
It's called the cathartic purge. When you release all your emotions, you have all these built up aggressions and emotions. You can just release it all to us, and that's what you both did a great job with during the.
So we commend you both for doing so.
Mhm.
So thank you for joining us again, Mr. Drew. And I like my colleague said, we were able to accomplish a lot with these caucuses. And I want to do a quick recap on some of what we both said. And please tell me if can you touch the pad over? Please tell me if this is incorrect. And then we have a little bit of an exchange in communication shortly after we review what was said in our caucuses. Now, Mr. Drew, and you can interrupt me any moment. Mr. Drew, again, some of your points was all you have to do is just simply agree. That's it. You said that initially, and in this whole ordeal, you have zero animosity towards
That's true.
True. Okay. Also, you felt this in the second exchange when she had ignored your plight and you confronting her when that morning, you felt disrespected. You were wondering why she was intimidated, and you were saying that it is a race issue. Is that correct?
Yeah.
And you also said that because now you've learned that she is considering to file a suit, you are now also wanting to file your own countersuit.
Most definitely.
Okay, correct. And your last statement was the kids come first because you were concerned about your children.
Definitely.
Okay. Now, Mrs. Alice, in addressing, let's address one of those first points because you had talked about it with us. When it came to that first conflict with Mr. Drew and that you going to work that morning, would you please tell now talking to Mr. Drew what you told us about your feelings towards people of color? And Mr. Drew, we would just ask that in this moment, just to receive, just to hear her out, and just be sincere, be honest with exactly what you told us, how you told us, and we'll move forward from there.
Okay. So I do not have ill feelings towards anyone of color, race, gender identity, sexual orientation. That's the way I was raised. Those are my beliefs that nobody should be discriminated that way. And I apologize if you saw it in your perspective that I was being aggressive towards you because of, your identity as a black male.
Mm-hmm.
However, even if, regardless if you were any other race, any kind of racial identity, sexual orientation, if you were to, I would say, aggressively, come at me and communicate with me, I would still feel threatened either way.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Drew. Miss all that she said, do you accept her apology?
Number one, yes, I do.
Okay.
And number two is that was my perspective, is that she was acting that way because she looked at me a certain way and was judging me by how I looked.
Thank you, Mr.
So
Drew.
if that's not what the case was, then
We'll further.
So we can move on from this issue, and
of race.
is that genuine?
well, let me make sure I get clarity on what you're saying. So she's basically admitting that she's not racist at all.
That's all that was.
You don't have a problem with me being
No,
black.
no.
Well, I was assuming that just because the vibe I get in this neighborhood is like I'm not supposed to be here.
Well, it's good
And
to
I
know.
see their fence and the money they have, and I'm thinking that this is
Could it be
what
because
is this?
you just moved there?
That could be. And that's what I was saying because I'm black and I moved there, and it's like, who's this guy?
And in this,
all that. So if that's not an issue with you,
Mhm.
then you know.
And in this uncertainty about these hidden feelings about being in a neighborhood, now you know that there's one person in the neighborhood who does not have any ill feelings.
That feels
COVID.
better. That feels
Okay,
good to
That's
know
an
that.
important thing to
That's
point
very-
out. You know, we can move forward and establish a good relationship with you two. I mean, I think that could further.
Well, we know we don't have any hate for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you receive her
And I
apology.
I can say I can trust that. I can honestly feel that genuine, number one, because you even agreed to sit down and do this.
Okay.
So I can see that you obviously don't have any, you know, hate for, you know,
Yes.
black people because you're obviously here at the table.
She also made a second statement. Now I'm going to ask you, Mrs. Alice, once again, to make your personal statement to Mr. Dre in response to "My kids come first" and his genuine concern for his children. Now, can you please tell him what you told us?
Okay.
About maybe your nieces and nephews.
Okay. So I could see how it might be a little difficult to, understand if my husband and I care for children because we don't have children of our own, and that's a fair assumption because, the negative stereotypes of couples not having children is because they hate children. But in actuality, we do love children. We have nieces and nephews, and we try to visit them as often as we can. So I understand I empathize with your concern, for the safety of your children and, ensuring that they have a safe environment that they can develop in. But I still feel as though with our fence, we were trying to contain all of that from them. We wanted to keep that away from them.
So this is going back to what you said there. She had two options in your eyes of putting up this big fence. The first one being privacy, the second one being don't look at me, we're better. She's stating right now that her purpose for putting up the fence was the first one. That was to not expose your children. Maybe
Okay,
she
and I can respect that. I can
Okay.
respect that. Like I said, as long as we have the children's concerns, well, that's what the sign was about, man.
Exactly.
Is that I just don't want children to be exposed to that.
So
And there's a hole I can see that, so this
Okay.
obviously means they haven't even checked through and seen that is there any way that my children can see this. I need assurance.
Yeah.
What's
And
my
that's-
assurance
and
that,
that's
that
what we
my
have
children
to,
are
we
not
have to
going to see
establish
this?
this.
To stop that.
Right. So what's going to happen going forward is the issue. I mean, this mediation, everything sounds right. We need to establish how this will be handled in the future, how it's actually going to be handled. But we don't quite know what needs to be handled because we don't really know directly what you need to have and directly what you need to have in order to feel completely at peace with this situation. So what would you need? What do you need to feel completely fine with this, to move forward?
and she has communicated to us that that she is considering other options besides pressing charges because she now understands that this legal dispute could damage financially and reputation-wise on her side.
That's right.
So, and she is willing, and correct me if I'm wrong, she is willing to be diplomatic and maintain a positive reputation in her community. Which means you might not even have to press your own charges if she is willing to just, aside from the law, just go back to the simple, to the fence. So how do you feel about that?
Well, I mean, that sounds ideal. I'm just saying, what's my assurance that she's going to, take this, lawsuit or not going to do the lawsuit? Like, my question is there going to be something like in writing or is there going to be something else?
Yeah,
gonna
we're
come
going
out
to
of
get
this
there.
mediation?
So
She recognizes there's a problem on her behalf with this lawsuit. She recognized that perhaps if this lawsuit came to fruition, more of the public would see what the problem is. And the problem behind this lawsuit is her nudity. That's what it would be, right? So she's worried and she recognizes that more of the public would see them doing this if it came to a lawsuit. So she doesn't necessarily want to do the lawsuit at all anymore. So there's your insurance. Your insurance is knowing that if you were to further your counter lawsuit,
That makes sense.
then her reputation, and she recognized her reputation could be damaged more than just with the sign.
yes.
So maybe that could apply to some insurance. So having said that, the lawsuit she's willing to get rid of, and now that we addressed the racial issue, maybe we could try and seek ways that you guys will feel better about this situation.
And is it okay if I say?
Absolutely.
So one thing that one of the last statements that she made towards you is it really just comes down to trust. And really what we're hearing from you is this, it's the same thing. How do I know if I can trust you? which shows me that we've actually progressed now to just we're actually able to be in a civil dialogue.
Dialogue. Perfect.
Dialogue. And so now can we all agree here that it's not necessary to move forward?
No, we don't need to come to any resolution, man. We're just here to, figure this out. We can create more communication. We're not here to push a stop to anything.
Sure.
We're just here. Now we literally just stopped and switch roles. 1:30.
Yeah.
Because that's what he did in class, right?
Right.
He just said they don't come to ends.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like we're just like establishing like truth,
Right.
trust
Cool.
and stuff.
Good job.
Solid.
Everybody, good job. Yeah.
Did it,
Let's
man.
switch up next row. Keep it going. That's good. Good job. I have to agree.
Oh, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah, good stuff. Good stuff.
All right.
Hey, I didn't get what you were trying to tell me.
At the end.
Yeah, like you were kind of like.
Oh yeah, dude, you were moving your leg the entire time.
Oh really? My bad.
It's all good.
It might shake the recording too.
Nah.
Okay.
So do you just want to assume the parties that were in this spot?
Yeah. I'll be. And that was good.
20-minute caucuses, man.
Yo,
That
was
that's
solid,
why I wrote
bro.
that down.
Solid,
I
bro.
sent him.
We don't have to come to a resolution, That's
Right.
perfect.
Now this one we don't necessarily have to have the caucuses. We could do long.
We don't have to, but caucuses help.
Let it flow.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Depending on what
Just
opens
show.
up in the situation,
Let's go.
go where you go.
We got
Go
some
where
good
you
stuff.
go.
We got some good
I'm
stuff
gonna
out of the
let
caucus too.
Let's do a little caucus, bro.
Yeah, for sure. Of course.
Hey, do you want to take a bathroom break real quick?
Nah, we're good. I'm ready to roll. We can take our break during the caucus, maybe.
If you need to go, go.
I need
bro.
to go real quick.
Yeah.
Let's go. Yeah.
Just go ahead. For the time recording, we're taking a bathroom break. 5 minutes. Don't grade this.
Except for the minutes.
Yeah. He's not gonna return it, but so I'm gonna let you take it. I'm gonna throw it again.
Okay.
This one, 'cause last time I was
Yeah, it's all good.
like,
It's okay.
to tap me if I'm going too long, or if you're trying to just cut me off. Like it's
Okay.
cool. Like, I don't care.
Okay.
I'll stop. Cause I keep going sometimes.
It's cool. I understand.
Get at the titty both while I'm keeping it. So what do we want to do? What's our strategy? We want to go for open it up like identity search, like identity questions, like opening questions, right? And then who they are at first, right? You want to find out their lifestyle, like who are you, like, what makes you tick. Yeah, would it be safe to say that you're this type of person that likes this and like that?
Yeah, it's really good.
So reframing,
Mhm.
like he did reframing. I don't think.
Here, you want to use this?
Yeah, let's write that shit down.
Use this one.
Okay, there, yeah, okay, well, you got it. So, damn, I never had these. Right, see, there it goes. So, we'll definitely throw some poison in there. So we can,
Did you guys do your teacher evaluations?
Thanks to you.
what's yours?
Or was your due last night?
Oh, for what class?
Getting the grade.
Oh, yeah, okay, I know. I'm not too as you can see, hopefully. Okay, so you want Alright.
Alright.
Time rolling. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning, everyone.
Hello.
So, my name is Caitlin.
My name is Dre.
And let's just start off with some, informal introductions. What would you like to be addressed as?
Bert.
Bert and
Jerry.
Jerry. Okay. So, the reason why we're here for our mediation is because Jerry brought to our attention a conflict regarding, safety, privacy, and the livelihood of children. So, I imagine, though, that people who come over here to mediation, there's been a history of miscommunication. Is that correct? Like, people might have been cut off, or people might have felt ignored. Is that
That is
Yeah.
correct.
Something
Yeah,
that happened.
that's
There's-
fair.
there's
That's
no
a fair statement to
no
say.
communication? And that's fair to say. So, obviously, that hasn't worked. Your solution hasn't been met. There's still a lot of conflict that's,
Yeah, there's no agreement.
No agreement?
There's no talking with this
No
man.
talking at all. Okay.
Can
Well,
I chime in?
Absolutely.
It's a good thing that she said something about communicating and talking, because one thing I do want to first say is I'm proud that you guys are both here to communicate and talk.
Absolutely.
So actually thank yourselves for that, because that's a very hard thing to do, and taking that first step, especially you responding to somebody that you have conflict with and agreeing to come to mediation. So pat yourself on the back for that. Second of all, I would like to inform both of you and my colleague as well that everything that we talk about today will remain confidential, and we respect confidentiality within our mediation. So just judging that you guys are two opposite parties, and we're obviously going to be talking about something today that needs to remain private, is there anyone else that you would need to disclose information with? That needs
So
to be
confidential meaning no one's
confidential
gonna know
meaning
about
that
it, right?
everything that's said here today
Yeah.
will stay here unless you choose to disclose it with a third party.
I have one person.
Who is that, sir?
My wife. My
Your
wife.
wife?
Yeah, my wife.
Okay,
needs to know about
that's
this.
fine. What we'll do to accommodate that is we'll sign an agreement of confidentiality, which will be on a printed form that she can sign.
I also
And
have
I was
my
going to
wife.
ask you to as
My
well.
wife as well.
Right. So any third party groups will be signed into this confidentiality, so that everything is set in.
Okay,
And
good.
there's me and my colleague, we have no bias or any reason to take anybody else's side. Like we said, we're here
Absolutely.
to encourage, collaboration between both parties, and we're not trying to just reach an immediate end or, make sure that any of you have to compromise or give up anything.
I'd like to chime in on that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Compromising means losing, and we want to make sure that each side is equally validated and is getting exactly what they want. So, based on previous miscommunication, we want to make sure, as facilitators of clear communication, that everything is on the table, for everyone to examine. So, again, thank you to my colleague for covering the logistics. At any time, though, if you feel as though you need to take a break, you can feel free to, restrooms are down the hall to your right, and then on the other side of that, we have some snacks and water available for you.
Okay,
So,
that's good to know.
at any time that you feel as though you're stressed out or you just want to take a break from all of the talking, discussing.
Am I gonna get up, or should I, ask?
It would be preferred if you could ask.
I can do that.
Yeah, that would be really good. It's just so that we can pause appropriately.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
I'm sorry, it's been a long day.
Yeah, it's been a long day for everyone. So, again, we want to reiterate that we are not going to be taking any sides because we're just facilitators of communication. We're not going to actively search for resolution because, as it's evident that with such conflicts, it's a clear-cut solution is not going to appear overnight
There are a
or
lot of problems
few hours.
going on.
a lot of problems, as you said.
Well, that's why we're here.
Yeah, that's why
Okay.
we're here. So we're going to fully examine everything. We're going to give everyone a chance to speak, and we're going to collaborate on what we could potentially do, to solve this issue for the long term, rather than compromise and solve it for a short amount of time. Does that sound all right to either party?
I don't
Yes.
want to compromise.
Yeah, compromising is bad.
I don't. Why do you have to bring me into this? Jeez,
Well, at
man,
least
just talk to me,
we
Jesus.
agreed. I
Okay.
tried to talk to him.
Right. Well, there's a key word that
I'm a busy man.
excuse
I
me,
work hard.
gentlemen. One thing I do ask is that in order for this mediation to be effective, I need for both parties to
Excuse me.
relax, take a deep breath, and understand that I want to hear what you have to say. I want to hear what you have to say, and I need to hear what you have to say, and I need to hear what you have to say to be able to accommodate both parties, because our interest here is in your needs being met and your interests being met, and your needs being met and your interests being
Sure.
met. I don't know what they are if I can't hear them, or if you can't voice them to the other party, because you might say something that he might respond to in your benefit, or in something that he might agree to. But if he can't hear you because he's saying something and you're saying something, you won't be able to get there. And I know both of you guys understand that, so I just want to make sure that I say I agree and I understand with having emotion behind your words, and I know that it's going to be emotionally charged. But as for respect of the process of the mediation, we just need everybody to get whoever has the floor, just respect that. We provided notebooks and writing utensils for you to go ahead and jot down any feelings or even a counter argument that you might want to use the next time that you have the opportunity to speak. I really and highly suggest that you write it down.
Okay.
And I understand that everybody has the right to have emotion and be angry or happy or upset, whatever your emotion is. You have a right to that. But I am just in means of this mediation being able to work effectively, and I can't let it work effectively if somebody's cutting me.
I'll do my best to tone it down.
Okay. Now, also,
likewise,
I would like to say, and I don't want to cut my colleague off at all, but I first would just like everybody to relax, because me and my colleague would like to go through a process where we just, identify exactly who you guys are. So we just need for one at a time, everybody speak. So
we would like to establish a good foundation so that we can fully examine the problems.
what if he's interrupting me in the
then
middle
we'll
of
address that. We'll address that. But if it happens too much, we always have the option as a group to collectively end the mediation and terminate the mediation, which is something that we're not working towards, but it is always on the table if the mediation is not moving effectively.
Sure.
We want to make sure that everyone does feel safe in this environment and feel as though they want to participate in it.
Right.
And at any moment that you feel as though you cannot collaborate with the other party, then the option of termination is there.
Or if your safety is compromised, the key word, safety. If your safety is compromised or you don't feel that it is, maintained, then we would be forced to end mediation.
Okay.
So, long story short, we would just like to first ask one at a time, questions. And these questions are a way for us to, home in on who you are. We're not looking to rush to get any immediate end. These are just, and don't feel like we're being intrusive or we're trying to be biased. We're just asking these questions.
And get a clear understanding.
So first I'll start with you, sir, since you called for the mediation.
Yeah.
First of all, what's the storyline on what happened here? And before I even ask you that, how did you end up coming to this neighborhood? How long have you been where you've lived?
So I've been in this neighborhood for actually just barely going on a year. We're fairly new residents in this part of town, and I really love. I was looking forward to moving my wife and 2 kids to a more affluent area, and it's a beautiful place to be in. I initially enjoyed it. I thought, the environment was a great place to raise my kids. And so both of my kids, Sarah and Johnny, they're going to a private school right now, and we're making ends meet. This is not necessarily what we call a cheap neighborhood, but my wife and I were both working full time, and we just feel like this is the right place for us to be, and just paying the mortgage down little by little, and taking it day by day.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's how long we've been here at the neighborhood.
So
if that's your question.
So you worked hard to obviously move somewhere where you can be comfortable.
Most definitely, yes.
To work somewhere that's affluent, that matches the work that you put in.
Yes.
And would you consider yourself very family oriented?
Oh, of course. Having 2 kids, you have no other choice but to be family oriented. I'm a hardworking man with integrity. I really am protective over my own family, and we have our own values.
How would you define integrity? Integrity
is doing the right thing, whether people agree with you or not, and whether anyone is around. It's still doing what I feel is morally correct.
Okay.
Not to cut you off. Where have you lived prior to this with your family? Was it a place that was around a lot of people, or is this?
It was in
used to living secluded. What's your lifestyle?
Well, we used to live in a more quiet suburbs in South San Jose, but now, moving into this area is a lot nicer, and so it wasn't necessarily too much of a big change, but this one was definitely a little more in our wallets. It was a little more on the.
It was more of a financial impact.
Yes, it would. I would say that's a fair statement to make.
So this is obviously a better place than where you were living.
It is.
How close were you with your neighbors at your last address? What kind of
Well, we were. I was
relationship
in
did
my
you have?
in my last residence. I had very open relationships with my neighbors. Just coming over, just to talk to my neighbors was absolutely normal. Had very great, strong friendships. As a matter of fact, we're still friends to this day. And for us, in the culture of that previous neighborhood, just it would be the type where I would be working on my lawn and I would just have the most casual conversation with my neighbors.
And how do you feel about your current neighbors?
Well, obviously, the reason why we're here is because we definitely don't see eye to eye. We're totally different in our values and in our mindsets, and there's not an open communication at all, which frustrates me to no end. And I would like to talk about that as well.
Did you at your last address? Did you live next to children, or were there children around? Or
Oh yes,
what
yeah.
kind of?
It was
How
normal
was it?
for the families in my last neighborhood to have kids, 1 or 2 kids. The kids had plenty to play around, and
So they were around the area.
Oh, yeah.
Both houses.
Like playing.
definitely we would play in the streets, play out in the yard.
It wasn't too secluded. where
not
you
at
were
all.
living.
Not at all.
Okay.
It was perfect. It was a perfect place to raise them, and we felt like moving into this new location would be an even nicer. The kids love it out here. We have a bit of a bigger backyard, so they're always playing out
So
in the
they
back.
do play in the backyard.
Yes, all the
Okay.
time.
It's okay. Now, would it be safe to just say overall, like you're a person that's you're a friendly neighbor. You invite conversation from the people you live next to. You would like to have
Yes.
relationships with them.
Of course.
You're not one of those neighbors that doesn't want to talk to their other neighbors.
No, I
Or more
think
family
I
oriented.
think neighbors should have just trust with each other.
So
and,
you would like to trust your neighbors?
Yes.
I would like to at least be able to talk to them,
Yeah, be on
Which-
amicable
not
terms.
not not
Yeah.
be shot down disrespectfully.
That's well noted. Well noted. Let me ask you this as well. Have you had a lot of conflict in the past with, issues with anybody that's been a neighbor or other addresses? Even the last one.
Not really. Not really.
No.
This is really my first time having such this kind of
And
dramatic.
how well do you know your new next door neighbor? How well do you know him? Like how many times have you spoke? I know that's a lot of questions. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
I'm trying to find out.
Just I mean, man, I tried. Tried to even just talk.
Before this altercation?
Well, when we first moved in, there was just a wave here or there, and really no sense of community. And obviously, since this whole explosion of our situation, I would say honestly, this is probably our first time even being on the same table in one room. So very different, I would say, from my last neighborhood.
Slight clarification when you said that there was no sense of community. Did you feel as that in the whole of the community or just with this neighbor?
This neighbor, just other neighbors are
Okay.
fairly.
So you have talked to
fairly
other
friendly.
neighbors?
I have. I mean, us being only here for a year, we haven't had the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to build as strong relationships as we'd like. We've all got our schedules, but after this particular situation, I would say this is it's nothing I've ever experienced before. The tension, the negativity that we've had to face this is beyond me, and so it immediately is for me making it this experience in this neighborhood definitely an unpleasant one, a sour one.
So it's safe to say that your overall experience has not been an inviting experience, and the experience with this neighbor hasn't even helped it or enhanced
Up to
that at
this
all.
year,
It's made it a little worse.
Worse.
Okay. And I can understand why you would be upset with that if you work to live somewhere and you're not comfortable or you're not
Yes.
happy.
Yes.
Now, let's go back to this actual incident that took place.
Sure.
How did you happen to notice that your neighbor was?
Oh well, let me start from the very beginning of the
Yes,
story,
please.
since not everyone might know.
Yeah, please.
So like I mentioned before, I love to have the family out in the backyard and just have, just let them roam around freely, go swimming, invite some friends over, and this summer night, just very very recently, I was just
How
the wife.
recently?
That's a good question. I'm might have been 2 months ago,
Right.
or less,
Okay.
maybe even less than 2 months ago.
So less than 2
Because
years.
obviously this case is fresh, so it's less than 2 months ago.
Okay, and I didn't mean to interject, but
Okay, and so the wife and I were just relaxing while the kids were playing, and I was kind of just picking some stuff around the pool and making sure everything's okay. When
Yeah, keep going.
when all of a sudden, what really shocked me is as I was making my way around, kind of walking around the pool. So the
Right.
way that the pool is it kind of comes into to this curve, and it's nearby the fence, which is where my neighbor's at. As I was walking through this little path, what caught my eye through the crack in the fence was something I really wish I didn't see, which is my neighbor and his wife. I initially thought maybe I must be mistaken if they're naked. So I decided to go take a closer look, and sure enough, I was shocked.
We don't want.
Sure enough, I was shocked at the sight that I had beheld, and immediately I called my wife to bring the kids inside. It was a full-on lockdown, and I was furious. I was scared for my kids, and immediately I was trying to reflect on what just happened, because this was appalling.
okay, may I interrupt you real quick? So, Bert, you'll have your time to speak.
Mhm.
So just be sure to kind of contain yourself.
Yeah, I haven't
and
been
then-
speaking. I've just been.
Right. We're going to give you your time. Yeah, you're right. And I
Yeah.
really appreciate you
This
for
is
not.
really
Can,
disrespectful
can,
right now.
can I say one thing?
I don't appreciate.
Can I
any
say one thing?
remarks.
You can
So
say
when
it.
you were in the backyard, you were in the middle of doing something.
Yeah, I
You
was in the
didn't-
middle of the pool.
You didn't. You mentioned you didn't go out there to just look.
No,
look
not
through
at
the
all.
fence
No,
and
I'm not like that.
to see
I'm not
what
like that
they
at
were
all.
doing. That's not what happened.
I'm not like
Is
that.
that what you're saying? That's not
Yes.
what you were doing.
I've seen
Okay,
you peeking.
I just wanna make note
I've
of
seen
that.
you peeking.
Okay,
Like, and then
so
also,
You see me peeking.
Bert, we're almost done with his side of telling us what's going on. We're gonna do the same, and then even I would like to also mention that we also do have the option to talk individually. So please keep that in mind that there's no time limit on you being able
It's
to
just difficult.
speak your
for me.
mind, and it probably is.
It
I
is
can understand that.
Hey,
There's
it's
a lot
difficult
of
for me too.
I can
Even
understand
talking
that
about
as
this
well.
experience.
there's a lot of
It's not an easy
I can
experience
understand
talking.
that, but that's why you call for the mediation.
You're right.
But,
You're right.
He's in a different position than you because he's here seeing something that's being presented. So, and you're in a different position than he is because you actually called for this. So I just need both of you guys to understand that you're both experiencing something that's new to you. And I want you to understand that it's okay if we make slip-ups and we accidentally, talk over somebody. But I want to let you know I'm here to work through that. I'm not here to take anybody's side. So
Okay,
when
yeah. If you
when
say
I'm
so.
telling people to stop and cutting each other off, it's only so that I can continue trying to help both parties.
I guess this is what we needed. Someone literally
to mediate the
facilitate.
Yeah.
situation. That's
think of
what
us
me
as
and my
tools to make
right,
sure that
use
there's a
us.
bridge of communication.
You're
Yes.
here to use us to communicate your messages. So instead of trying to communicate just on your own,
Mhm.
don't try to battle and compete with each other. Use us here. Take advantage of the resources
I
that we're
understand.
providing
now.
here for you. So just to ask you a final question. Overall,
I wasn't able to
to
really
finish your storytelling is what I wanted you to be
Okay.
able to do, and I want you to be able to communicate what your possible position is in this
Sure.
whole situation. And then, sir, after he states that, we'll be able to switch to asking you questions that can explain
Okay.
your possible position.
All right.
Okay. All right, kid, please finish.
Yeah. So as soon as I brought the family in, I was talking about it with my wife that following night, and she suggested, "Hey, maybe you should just go talk to him. Maybe you should just sort some things out." And I don't know the context of what was going on. I was on my end, I was extremely upset because what if one of my kids like Sarah just saw that, and I would have been they would have been traumatized for life.
So you're concerned for the development of your children.
Of course, what parent would not be? And so shortly after, I wasn't able to the following day, but the day after that, so 2 days later, talking about 2 days. This was on a Saturday, and then Sunday, and then Monday. Coming up out of my house and trying to talk to Bert, I was just trying to reason with him, and I walked up to his car, and the moment I started talking, he was in such a rush, and he put up his hand like this, and he was on his way out, and I was, as he continues to do this, I was trying to reason with him and talking to him about this whole nudity issue, and he just was not having it, and next thing you know, he just gets in his car, rudely shuts the door in my face, and just drives off without a care, and I was left feeling extremely. I looked like a fool on that driveway.
So you felt humiliated.
I looked not only humiliated. I felt like nothing because, this again in context of my last neighborhood, this was not what we expected moving into this in this area. We would think they would have at least the decency to hear another neighbor out. So it only confirmed more of my assumptions about their character and their nature, how they like to handle things. Not only are they nudists, but they're also extremely rude people and very poor at communication. And so this is, I'm sorry, what?
I just wanted, you brought up an interesting point of the body language. I wondered, what would this, holding out your palm like this.
Well, it certainly wasn't a high five.
So
it was
just like,
it was
stop talking.
Don't talk to me. It was get out of my face. It was mind your own business. I don't care. I don't care what you have to say. And I was just absolutely. I went back into my house, just slammed the door, and I had to think about what's the action plan now? Now that I have to really address this, I took that as a sign of war almost.
A sign of war.
Yes,
Okay.
man, this dude, I was.
Brilliant.
It made me extremely furious.
Now, can I?
Furious is an understatement.
Can I ask you? I noticed you mentioned that not only were they nudists, but they're rude. And I really wanted to identify this word that you used, rude.
Rudest?
Rude.
The rudest nudist?
Yeah, you said they're rudest. Is that what you say? They're rude or they're
Yeah,
rudest?
I mean they're rude.
All right, well,
And they're
rude,
nudist.
that word right there, we classify in mediation as poisonous.
Mm-hmm.
And
what do you mean by
to explain
poisonous?
explain what poisonous means is it's a word that is actually a label that's a negative label, and when it's used in mediation, it almost creates a roadblock because as long as we're labeling each other with names, there's never going to be a positive response to that. And I'm not telling you that you're wrong for saying that, but I'm addressing that actually came out. So we need to write that down and address that. There's actually problems with the character. You said there is no animosity, but when you use words like rude, you're expressing to us as mediators that you do have some type of negative feeling
Oh, of
towards
course.
him, and we need
Why
to
would
address that. So
wouldn't anyone?
right. So like when my colleague was discussing you putting the hand up in the face, that's something that's displaying to you rudeness, and you have an issue.
From your own perception, that is rude.
Is it safe to say you
Yes.
have an issue with?
Well, I mean,
with
wouldn't
their
anyone see that
rudeness?
as rude? I mean,
Yeah,
like,
I can,
am I crazy?
I can
or
understand.
what?
No,
I can
no.
understand
like,
why
what's going on here?
waving a hand in your face when you're trying to talk to somebody would be rude, and we can understand that. That's totally reasonable. But what I'm addressing is the fact that you have an issue with your neighbor being rude. Is it safe to say that?
Yeah, of course. Of course I have an issue. I mean, I don't see why it's there to be confused there, but I mean...
We just want to reiterate
yeah, we're just
that
I'm
this
just
is a respect
okay.
issue.
Well,
I'm trying to identify issues to address. So
yeah, well,
this is obviously an issue. There's rudeness. Is it also from that? Can I ask? I noticed you said he was driving off when you were trying to speak. And
yeah, he not
Did you
only pulled out, he sped off.
He
He
sped off.
was like he didn't even want to give me the time of day. to hear me out or to understand exactly where I was coming from, and that's really where the upsetting feeling came from. Is that like having someone get in their car, shut the door, speed off while you're in mid sentence.
You felt like this was disrespectful?
Of course.
And you felt like so invalidated and so humiliated that you can't even compel yourself to confront.
Yes, I was not about to look like a fool in front of my family, and that was just.
So you didn't want to look like a fool.
Not at all.
I understand. Okay, well, let me ask you, Mr. Burke, how you feel about, number one, his position on everything. But before we get into that, I just want you to just start with what happened from your perspective on the specific incident. Now, I did have one question, which is, how do you feel about living in this neighborhood? Like, what would you say the social climate? What would you say the social climate is before they moved here? Like, how was your relationship with everyone, and how?
I'm glad you asked.
What kind of neighborhood?
Because this is a good neighborhood. I've been living here for 10 years, and they moved here not even a year ago, almost a year ago. I guess 11 months is what he said. But every other neighbor I have is a strong community feel.
Okay.
And most of my neighbors have been here for at least 5 years, so we know of each other. And not only do we know of each other, but I know their kids, and I know their mothers and fathers.
So you do have a relationship with the people in your immediate community?
Yeah, I do have a good relationship.
Neighbors,
yes. I do. With all my neighbors on the block. And it's a community. It's a good community feel. And sometimes, when you exclude yourself from that community, like him and his conservative family and his little soft little children that are being
hold on,
wait,
what are you talking about?
Once again,
children. I feel like that's some.
Let me clarify myself. I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Jerry,
I don't mean to be disrespectful.
That's some very offensive.
Now, can I point out one thing? Excuse me, gentlemen. Can I point out one thing specifically to you, Mr. Jerry?
Yeah.
When it was your time, which it was, we were able to actually identify some things about what you were saying. But if I wasn't able to do that with you, I wouldn't know what was going on. I haven't had a chance to do that yet with Mr. Burke. So if you would be kind enough to let him have at least an equal amount of
and
time.
write down your concerns.
That you did
all right.
in the meantime, like my colleague said. Fair enough. Yeah, in the meantime, like my colleague said, please write down anything that you would like to counter or anything you would like. You can draw. Anything you would like to do.
Because when we interrupt each other, there's stuff that's lost in communication.
I need to hear from Mr. Burke what's going on and things about him that we can move to the next phase.
I'm sorry about that.
No. I understand why you're upset. It's all good. I understand why you're upset. So, Mr. Burke, once again, sorry, continue.
Okay.
Continue. Tell me more about what you were saying about your relationships with the people around you.
Yeah, let's just go off with that.
Can I ask one
question? I just
question?
feel disrespected from him because he's not only attacking me, but he's attacking my
Well, I noticed that was another word that you were saying, and once again, that we also identify mediation as poisonous.
What?
Is that you said he was cutting you off? What are you saying? He doesn't respect, excuse me, is what you're saying. He doesn't respect you.
No, he's disrespecting the community, not only me.
Well, that's even larger. That's on a larger scale.
Man.
Okay, I know that oftentimes people say things and they don't realize to say it. So I think this is the situation that we're having right now. And Jerry doesn't.
He also mentioned respect too, as
well. But he also mentioned that this neighborhood doesn't compare to his previous neighborhood.
Right.
And this neighborhood is not good enough for him. And these are all assumptions because he's not putting himself out there. He doesn't make an attempt to, be with the community. This is a good community.
Whoa,
this is a strong community. We look out for
once again, you're making we're using poisonous speech here. And before you interject or try to cut up,
what was my poison? I'm just trying to express myself.
I understand that. Maybe I'm wrong in what I'm saying, but let me try to back up here. Let's try to slow down because we got a lot right now that I'm trying to process through. So excuse me if I insinuated anything, but let me back up. But what you're saying is that he's not being respectful, or he's not respectful.
So based on...
would you say he's respectful or not, or disrespectful?
So based on what Jerry said,
there's a lot that goes into disrespect. I mean, it's disrespect because he's not approaching me, and we're not handling this outside of this. It's not what men do. Men talk about things.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm not trying to... I want to address that issue. you feel personally that his behavior or even the way he's being right now is disrespectful. So is it safe to say that respect is somewhere in the mix of
Yes.
it? Okay.
So there's some common ground that respect is.
Because he mentioned that too as well.
wanted.
In a different perspective, he mentioned
Well,
that.
wait, I want to be respected.
Well, wait, one
Yeah,
at a time.
but
One
by
at a time.
both sides.
Right.
Off that, if we want to talk about respect, then
Right.
Okay.
I just want to make sure if that's something that's even in the
think-
midst of what you're saying.
I think respect is huge, and it has to do with both of our positions. I want respect from him, and I don't think he's showing it.
Okay, so what I do want to identify is that from talking from both of you just in the last 5 minutes, whether you agree on anything or not, we can agree that respect is definitely involved in both positions and issues. Is that true?
Yes, yeah.
Respect is an issue. Is that true? Respect
Most
is an issue.
definitely.
Now, tell me something, Mr. Brett, about, how do you usually, what do you consider respectful behavior from your neighbors? Like judging past experiences,
maybe
judging your expectations. What do you expect? What do you consider to be respectful?
face-to-face conversation, and
Okay.
second chances, and approaching the person with the right mannerisms. That's what respect is to me. Listening to somebody, hearing them out, and he'd mentioned that I drove off, and that was the only time he'd ever try and communicate with me. And people have bad days, and I was going through a tough period in time. Like I was pissed off at my wife the night before. We were having some major fights, and I just got done hearing about it from her right before I left the door. So I'm in no mood to talk to anybody, let alone having some guy, some soft man.
Whoa.
Approach me thinking he's all
once
that.
again,
That's poison.
once again,
define what
if I could
soft
recognize
means?
Okay.
poison, that's poison.
That's poison.
That's
Once
poison
again,
right there.
that sounds like you're. Once again, that sounds like you're making a labeling his
It
character.
would.
Right,
It
and
would.
I
was
understand
trying
that,
to
but
knock it.
with that kind of talk, we won't be able to move any forward. He's going to do anything but get offended by that. Just as if you, vice versa, if he was telling you that, you're not going to accept that.
Yeah.
What we're trying to do here is
it's
leave
difficult,
out less
man.
of that speech and get more to addressing the issue.
Okay, well, I don't know much.
So,
Nicer way to say like,
Let's get back
soft.
to say what you were saying.
Maybe like sensitive.
Okay, sensitive,
Yeah.
but then that could be taken as poison too, because it's a social norm to be masculine, and anytime I say sensitive or soft, he thinks it's bad
Right.
because it's feminine.
So you feel that he should not be as soft to the words that
There
you're
you go.
saying?
I think that's a good thing to point out. I want him to not get offended as easily, as quickly. I want him to hear somebody out, or maybe understand that there's other things that are going into play with this.
So tell me more. Tell me more about this. And how many times have you even before we've sat here at this table, and before we've even talked about this problem? How often or how many times did you guys meet and talk about this, or is this the first time?
We never met and talked about it. We never talked about it.
Is that the case? Is this the first time? That you
Yeah,
guys have talked
I
about
think
it?
I mentioned that earlier.
You
This is
did.
officially.
So
This is probably our.
this has nothing to do with us reaching any kind of agreement. But one thing that I do notice right now is that we have even started talking. There was no talk before today. Is that correct?
Yeah, no
From
talk.
both of you. I don't want to
No.
assume anything. Is that right?
No
First
talk.
time face-to-face conversation.
Right.
Yeah, first time.
So
Absolutely the first time face to face.
this is the first time that you get to know that there is an issue. Is that correct? Or did you already have an assumption that there...
It was clear because if I could go a little bit in my story, that it was clear once the sign was
Right. And I want you
Oh,
to
a
finish.
sign. So
Yeah,
Can
tell me
you
more. Well, see,
explain?
that's we didn't get into that because we're having this once again cutting each other off. So for the
Well,
sake of
I didn't.
me getting ready, to,
know,
I need to be able to hear his
did
full
put up a
story.
sign,
You know,
but
So I would like to-
that was for the best reasons.
talk.
You did, and I commit. I appreciate that, and I'm asking you, Mr. Jerry, would you be willing to let him finish the rest of his story,
I will. I'll keep my mouth shut, but I mean,
All right, I'll keep
just
my
for the
poison
duration
out
of the
it.
time, so he could tell his full story? Or would you be willing to tell your story?
So
Are you
he
still
put up
willing
a
to tell
fence.
it?
He put up a fence, or he put up a sign.
offense.
Yeah, now he's being manipulated. You're soft. You want to discuss this
Yeah,
further
yeah.
manipulation? I mean, we don't have to be here. We can handle it some more.
Yeah, let's
I
leave
don't
the
know.
name calling out and let's try to stick more to as what happened and what you're telling me.
Okay.
So,
well,
yeah.
he
Focus
put
on the
up,
facts.
he put up a sign
put
in
up-
front of his
I'll
house.
put up a sign. Now, what did the sign
Let
say?
me tell you.
Yeah,
He said no nudity allowed, children present, and that's obviously hinting at me to cover up my body. And it's like, what a weak way to go about that in my mind. You don't approach somebody. You don't you don't talk to them about the problems you have with them. Rather, you put them on blast publicly, and with the intention, it's called plausible deniability. To, oh, I didn't mean it intending to you, because that's kind of what they were trying to do. I'm smart enough to understand. I mean, I got my doctorate degree. I understand like some passive reasons behind things, and everything's not
passive aggressive.
Right, and he might be able to say that, oh, it wasn't directed at me, but it's directed at me.
So you felt that the sign was completely directed at you.
Nobody else. I don't think. Yeah, I don't think it was a message to the world. I think it was a message to look out for somebody. I think it was a message that said, look out for this naked neighbor. He's naked and weird around children. So to put nude and children in the same sentence, like that's, it stirs emotions for people in a bad way, and it's drawing very negative attention to our immediate neighborhood.
How would you say that? Like, was there talk? Have you been hearing talk around the neighborhood?
Yeah,
about
there's a couple neighbors that have asked me what this sign's about, because they don't talk to this neighbor. There's no reason to talk. They haven't talked to them. They haven't put themselves out. So the neighbors are kind of confused about this too. And I'm a truthful man, so I say, the best of my knowledge, these guys put the sign out there because me and my wife hang out in our backyard naked. And, we put up privacy screening. We got an 8-foot wall. We did the best we could to be private, because we want to enjoy ourselves in our own private.
Tell me more about this 8-foot wall.
Yeah, so we felt that we were being a little bit exposed to our neighbors, and we do like being naked. So we recognize that, we can't have some 6-foot wall, because I'm a 6'3" man,
Right.
My head's above that wall, and I mean.
So you built the wall for privacy purposes.
Yeah.
So
with my best intentions for others, like being considerate.
Privacy isn't your concern.
Privacy and consideration of my neighbors,
are in concern
yeah.
to you. So
you're
not just being oblivious to your neighbors.
Correct.
You do actually have concern for their privacy
that
and
was
for
my
your
reason
privacy.
behind
building the wall.
Fence.
Okay.
So I wanted to be private. I didn't want to be seen, and then now I'm publicly blasted. I mean, this is like not only am I not being just seen by my next door neighbor. I mean, now I'm being publicly shamed every time someone's driving by my house.
Do you have kids, or are there ever children present? Are children ever present at your address?
Yeah, they are.
They are.
My brother and sister have their own kids.
Right.
We barbecue. We got a nice backyard, man. I just put $30,000 in money into our backyard. We got a nice hot tub.
How often do you proceed to be in the nude with your wife? And
whenever we're alone, we respect when children are around and my brother and sister are around.
Your children?
No,
so it's a very private event.
We don't have children.
It's a very private event.
Yeah. But every time me and my wife pretty much go in the backyard together to have a full day, we're naked.
How often, how long has this been happening?
And what time?
8 years since we had the pool. This man, listen to this. This man said that he moved in 11 months ago, and he saw me nude for the first time about, less than 2 months ago, and he even went further to say maybe a month. So that means 10 months he didn't see me naked. So this one incident, and then this 1 month of him peering in and noticing extra hard, because now he's aware. Now he's aware that I'm naked. So I mean, naturally he's going to keep looking more and more. But this was happening prior to this, There were no issues before.
Look, I don't want to see it. I'm just thinking about my kids, and
we understand. You're gonna have your
don't
time
get it
to speak,
twisted,
Mr. Jerry. We understand. What time of the day and how often?
Yeah.
do
So
you do
after
this?
work, I come, and after me and my wife got our own pub business. We're retired now. I'm a retired doctor, but after work, probably about 4 p.m.
4 p.m.
in the daylight. Maybe later into the evening, but it's
The
still
sun
light
goes
out.
down around this time, or
It's still up. I like enjoying the sun, and let it hit the natural parts of your body. It gives you crazy euphoria you wouldn't know until you experience. So you gotta experience it in the daylight itself. I'm trying to be live and nude in the flesh under the sun. Let the sun hit every part of the body.
So you are mentioning. I noticed that you're
every single
mentioning.
part.
I understand. I noticed that you're mentioning the sun.
Yeah.
And you're mentioning daytime. My question behind that is, what time do you usually consider the time for children not to be around, or would you, in your mind, when
That's
would
not
you
my
consider
consideration, because I think children can be and should be out anytime, because this is a safe neighborhood. We look out for each other.
You mentioned privacy. Have you had any experience prior to this, to any children being around at the time when you were nude?
No, man.
No.
No.
Okay.
Creepy
or even in the streets, if they're not in your backyard, I'm saying, do you know of children being around when there's still daylight in your neighborhood?
Yeah, there's a bunch of
So
kids.
there
That's
are,
the reason for the fence, you know,
There's
to
a bunch
keep
of
them
kids
out
that
of
are on the
it.
street.
and you built this fence because you are aware of that,
Yeah.
correct? I just was trying to make note of that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
But so I'm just really upset with this sign being blasted. I wasn't aware that he was willing to take this issue to mediation. Like, in my eyes, the person should come up to another person and talk to them. And there was none of that about this problem. I didn't know about this problem other than the sign in the front yard, and I just thought it was low class move.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well, that gives us more insight on where your stance is on this, and also, Mr. Jerry, we got a issue. I mean, we got a key in on what your possible stance is. I do want to do some double checking just to confirm and make sure from both of you that I've identified some things out of what you say. Start with you, Mr. Brett, since we just finished talking. So, judging by everything that you told me, I think we have a few issues here that we might want to address. One is maybe trust. The other is respect, the sign, and communication. Now, for trust, this obviously is a new neighbor.
Mm-hmm.
You living here, you've explained to me that you developed a relationship with everybody else that's pretty trustworthy. You also trust to know that you live in a neighborhood to where if you made accommodations for privacy, then you would know as to what time to take advantage of this.
Yeah, and I trust him big, and I don't trust that I think he's fine. So
Right.
It's like,
Right. So that's
Feel
something.
as though
That's
your
something.
safety is being
Right.
compromised.
So that's something that we're definitely going to talk about more. Also, the actual sign, his response to the sign, why you put the sign there. I would like to ask more questions about that. And the reason why I'm going over and reviewing all these issues, which I will do with you in 2 seconds, is because we would like to split into a caucus.
what
And,
the heck?
well, let me explain
Does
to
it
you.
not sound good? This is what.
Yeah. Well, what a caucus
What's
is,
a
a caucus is that we'll go beyond what we're doing here, which is face-to-face listening to each other. It'll actually be more easier because he's going to leave the room for a moment, and me and my colleague will talk to you individually, and then we'll expand on these topics that we're going over, these issues that are standing out from what I've just asked from storytelling with both of you.
And we want to reiterate that feel free not to feel paranoid that, we're going to be siding with one person.
Right.
Because we're going to be
This
talking
is
with
just for us to
person.
get more
So
insight.
Yeah.
this is like a personal.
It's
Yeah,
more.
we're gonna
It's
talk
going
to
to be
you
more of
one-on-one.
like
It's
one-on-one.
more comfortable. Yeah,
emotional.
one-on-one. That's a key word,
Yeah.
one-on-one. Thank you, Mr. J.
One-on-one emotional.
So let me continue. So you also mentioned communication. Is that you obviously didn't have any with him,
I think
and
it's
that
important.
you think it's important. So we're going to talk about that now. Talking to you, we highlighted as rude is definitely is an issue, right? Rudeness. Okay. Respect.
Yep.
Is
Right
that-
along with there. Yeah. Disrespect.
Right. Disrespect. And also, those are the main things that I got out of there. Did I leave anything out, or is there any other
No, I think that's pretty much
underlying
it.
issue that you might have to talk
Safety of
about?
the children.
Really, like it boils down to the safety of my children.
Right, yeah, you have that. You have
well-being
notes.
of,
Safety of your children too is one.
I want to protect them from any bad
course.
influences.
Right, we're
all
gonna
that
go into that more in detail. So I just wanted to do this right now so that you guys know what we're gonna talk about individually. So you know which issues we're gonna talk about with him individually, and you know what issues we're gonna talk about with him individually because you guys disclosed this in front of each other. So I just want you to know once again we're making progress on actual trust because you're letting us talk to you individually, which shows some kind of amount of trust. Because, like my colleague said, we won't show any bias without your presence not being here. So right now, I'm gonna take the time to talk to you individually. So first, we'll start with you, Mr. Jerry, and this will be about as long as it takes to
Where do you want me to wait?
get more. There's a waiting room right in the back.
Yeah, it's right by the lounge. There's
Right.
a lounge with snacks.
All right.
And
By the
across
restroom?
hall. Yeah, right
feel
by the
free to
restroom.
take advantage of that. Okay. So if you wanted to ask
Okay.
Mr. Jerry.
So how are you feeling right now?
Extremely emotionally and exhausted and frustrated because I still don't feel like we're really getting anywhere. But upset, still upset about the situation, still upset about a lot of the other things. But hey, at least we're all here. You guys are hearing me out, and but yeah, I guess that's how I feel. Very, very still upset.
I guess that we are going somewhere though, because considering this is first time we're having face-to-face conversation,
I suppose
rather
so.
than the poor incident that
Yeah,
happened.
that's a fair statement to make. Yeah.
Right. And also, I would like you to recognize the fact that you didn't have this opportunity to tell this person how you feel before.
No. It wasn't.
Today is actually an opportunity for you to do that. So I know it's really frustrating and it's a lot of emotionally charged, but you can actually maybe look at it in that light, is that you've actually had a chance to talk and you have us here to help your voice be
Sure.
heard, and that you called for this mediation and it's actually materializing and happening, which is actually a step further than you having to chase down a vehicle.
Sure.
That's legal.
Absolutely.
And I understand why that would make you feel frustrated. You
Yeah.
know, you're trying to get your point across. This is something that is an immediate issue, and it seems to you that it's not immediate to the person you're communicating to.
Mhm.
Is it safe to say that's the correct observation?
Yes, that's correct.
Right. So I just want you now to know that the reason we're having this one-on-one is for us to make sure that you're not getting skipped over. Like how you said, you feel like it's not going anywhere. I want to make sure we do go somewhere with this and can expand on it. So I'm asking right now for the issues of rudeness. Like we understand how he's showing you rudeness and how you're feeling disrespected. What would you need to change to not feel this way, or what would you like to see him do differently to not feel the way and get the end results that you're feeling right now? What would you need to change to feel other than you do
How would one display respect?
to you
Well,
in
definitely
this situation? Given
in this situation, definitely being open to what I have to say, not wanting to run off or ignore my point of view, and someone who's easy to listen to. Usually in my past neighborhood, if I had something I needed to deal with a neighbor, we would just openly discuss it, and it would be civil, and it would be effective. But I was totally wrong about this neighbor right here, and there was almost like a wall. Like
A
I
wall.
couldn't. There was no way I could get through to saying what I need to say. So I think for what would change is him just being a better listener and more
you
respectful.
want to be heard.
Of course, yeah, yes.
It seems though that you and Bert have a similar understanding of an open discussion, like face-to-face discussion, and wanting to be heard. That's a common, need for both of you, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I suspect that it could be how emotionally charged with the miscommunication that occurred previously that is hindering this process. So
Well, I don't know
again,
if it was a miscommunication. I thought it was pretty deliberate that he shut the door on me and went off. It
Once again,
wasn't.
you feel disrespected,
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah.
Right. And I understand. I mean, you're trying to talk to somebody and they whisk away on you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're obviously, new in the area. So it's fair to say
Instead
that
of even saying
you assume-
hello, yeah.
Right, you assume that is WNU. You don't know this person.
Yeah.
Can you say from today, how do you feel about what you know about him now from today? Like, have you learned anything new other than that you didn't know before this mediation took place? Just as far as
Yeah, I would say I would.
Okay, what is that?
I think everything at this
Tell
point.
me about that. Like, what
Yeah, everything at this
learn that
point
you
is
didn't
new
know?
because he has agreed to be part of this mediation. I'm able to actually get to know who he is as a person, even his
So you
personality.
have got to know a little bit more about who
Well,
he is.
yeah, it's a given since we're all sitting over here and we got to take turns with the talking. I mean, I don't agree with what he says, but
How do you feel
you know-
about who he is as a whole? Like, just by him talking?
well, I don't.
What do you,
Well,
about his
I'm not a hater. I don't have any problems with who he is as a person. But this whole ordeal is just it's a messy one, and plus how he's handling that communication issue from our one exchange.
You guys haven't had time to talk.
Not really, not
Is it
really.
due to work conflicts?
I mean, I'm assuming on his end, I'm ready to talk when he's ready to talk.
You made the initiative. Yeah,
that's why we're here. That's why we're here.
Right, you initiated the talk both times. You initiated the
Exactly.
communication in the driveway
Exactly.
and right here. So you obviously want to communicate.
Right.
Is that true?
Right. I just wanted to get this thing fixed, you know.
Okay, now, you mentioned you just want to get this thing fixed. If we had to define that, how would you define having this fixed?
What's the best possible
In your,
outcome
yeah.
of this?
Well, how would you walk away from this feeling like this is fixed?
Well, just
What would you need to happen?
what would I need to happen was just my kids being protected from nudity and just having that peace of mind of just knowing that they're not going to be exposed to anything of that kind of perversion, you know.
You use the word perversion. Do you feel that your neighbor is a pervert?
Well, I know it's a strong statement, but I could come to that conclusion after what I saw.
Is that underlying? Is that really how you feel, or are you just saying that you're assuming?
I would say
you honestly feel that they're a pervert.
I honestly feel that it is very perverted acts.
You would consider it to be voyeuristic in a way?
Oh yeah.
And will there be any possible way for this person to show you that they're not a pervert, or that they're not disrespectful?
I'm always that's
and
a
that they
tough
want to
one.
communicate. What would he have to show you
Well,
to counteract what you already?
I think in a sense, him even agreeing to be here, so that is showing me that he is open to some
Does that honestly
some level of
count for something? That
Yeah,
he's here?
yeah, I would say so. I would give him some credit for being here because, I mean, benefit of the doubt, he could have easily brushed us off, and honestly, it would have been so much worse. But
So you do, would it be safe to say that you respect that he showed up for this?
yes, that's very.
You do have, so there is
there
is some respect
That is
involved in this
some.
now. Is this considered a newfound respect because you didn't have it before?
I would say so.
Only if it's true. I'm not trying to probably
No, it's
say
okay.
guys want to ask.
In the very least possible way, I would say so because anything at this point is
That's
new.
a start.
Yeah, it's a start.
That's a start.
I'd like to backtrack a little bit and bring back a point that Bert mentioned on how his siblings and his wife's siblings have, children of their own, so he has nieces and nephews. And it shows that he has, relationships with children in a positive, way from an adult to a child.
And I didn't
And
know
a
that.
homosexual.
I did
So
not
you
know
did
that
not
previously.
Okay. And how does that make you feel? Does that reassure you over
In a sense, I mean, at least he's not. They're not a weird, secluded, couple, or they have zero exposure to children. I sure hope, with all my heart, that it's not weird or anything with those nieces and nephews. But he did seem sincere about it, having nieces and nephews.
Well, that's why I was asking. Would you, judging by what he said, you think he's a pervert after what he said? Is that
I
you
guess.
still think
I guess
that?
it's making me rethink.
Or you were
It's
thinking that?
making me rethink, even now, that position.
That he might not be a pervert.
That it might not be perfect, but I just don't get it.
Should I write that down? Let me write that down.
So there's like a difference in culture.
That's probably it.
You just think
That's
it's a
probably
culture clash and that
Yeah.
he's not a pervert?
Maybe that's it. Culture class. Because I mean, I myself am careful to place judgments on people, but
So you're not a judgmental person?
I'm not a judgmental person at all.
It's just like when you're approached with something new, your first reaction is to.
Well, yeah. How
shock.
do you handle it? How
It's
do
a
you
natural reaction.
how are you supposed to even sort that out in your mind?
Well, let me go back in my notes because Mr. Burt mentioned something big, which is a key word, and it's a label again. Once again, poisonous speech that I've heard on both ends and from both parties, the word of pervert or perversion. So right now, from what you're saying, I'm trying to draw out of this that you think it's a cultural clash, not that he's a pervert.
Yeah, I assume so. I mean, I guess.
But at the same time, you're still telling me that,
I'm still just some unsure.
There is
there's
some
still
uncertainty
some
there.
uncertainty.
that he
But-
might be
But
some
but I
perversion.
think through talking to you guys in a more calm manner, I think I'm able to come to a few more realizations that it is very much very different in,
Right.
in our mindsets and our value systems.
Is there any way that he could show you that he's not a pervert, or there's no entities of perversion?
I don't
What should we
know.
do for you? Like, would you want him to stop completely, or would you want him to like?
Like,
I just don't want to
how
see
you-
it.
You just don't want to see.
I don't want to
Okay.
see it. That's
You don't
it.
want to see it. And
I don't wanna see
number
it.
one, you don't want you to see it specifically.
I don't
or
want
want
anyone
anyone
in
in
my
kids.
family. I don't
or
want
your
anyone.
family or
No one in my
No.
family.
So
Not
just
people
my
in
to
the
wife.
reiterate,
neighborhood as well.
Not my wife, not my kids, not myself. We don't want to see
just
it.
to reiterate, you don't want to infringe on his freedom to do so. Whatever he wants to do in his yard, you just
Well,
want to protect yourself.
Hey, it's a free country. I guess you're right. I get. Yeah. I mean, I'm not. Like I said, there's definitely some differences in our value systems and how we see things.
You respect
Just at the end of the
differences.
day, I want to know that my family is protected, and that we are in no way, shape, or form being exposed to something that is, infringing on our value systems.
Mhm.
That's a good thing. I feel like that. So infringing on value systems.
Yes.
Now, could you put yourself in a position of Mr. Brett? Do you find him as a person of values, or
Well, everyone has values,
everybody
but
has values?
different,
It
but
might be
different values.
And you said
Exactly.
that you respect that there are differences, but your main concern is that you want to be protected from having your values infringed upon.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
I want to make sure that is straight. Now, this is the point in the end of us asking you and to follow up. Is there anything that you would like to add on? To what we
Actually,
asked
I'm
you?
curious as to what do you think is the worst possible outcome of this? That nothing changes, or do you fear as though this might be worse? It might
What,
get worse.
what do you mean?
Like,
Can you be more specific on that question?
so my question is, what do you think is the worst possible outcome of this mediation? Do you fear
Well, that
not working?
well, the worst possible outcome is that we would still be nothing would happen, nothing positive. Probably, he would still go on doing what he's doing, and he doesn't care. He's brushing off the points that I'm bringing up to him, because again, I told you this is the reason why I brought up this whole mediation, is because I was shot down.
Mhm.
And so I think the worst possible is that they're going to continue what they're doing. They're going to continue ignoring what we're saying, and whatever else they so choose to, however they want to respond to our sign. I know our sign is just to make a statement of our values. That's it. That's who we are.
And you would not escalate any further than firmly having a sign there.
No,
No
I
other
don't see.
actions. Okay.
I don't really see any other action.
Okay.
What they have to do if they wanted you to remove the sign, right? Let's just say if you wanted you to remove the sign, would that even be an option on the table for you?
Well, I guess the whole sign. I mean, if I'm honest with myself, I guess it was to get his attention and anyone else's attention in the neighborhood for that matter. But really theirs. But I had no idea. Hearing some of what he said was, I had no idea some of the things that he was saying.
Right. This
But,
is the first time you guys communicate.
But I mean, if it's for some reason I'm to take off that sign, I would just want to have a peace of mind that he's not out to in his different value systems to really influence my kids and my family. So I am open to any decision. I'm not set in stone on anything, but the sign is out there even now as we speak, and it's just there to just to openly talk about our values.
Absolutely, and we would like to remind you that the purpose of mediation is not to come to a concrete, complete resolution. Because obviously, with conflicts, it's always going to be messy, and it's a good point that we want to bring up like all the possibilities of how we can proceed and fix this situation, this breach of trust and privacy, so that it would be better for you in the long term.
Sure.
For you and your family, and for Bert and his family.
Okay.
We're gonna probably switch in a second, but I wanted to ask you, unless my colleague has something she wanted to add on. But I was gonna ask you personally, would you take the sign down, or would there be another option to make yourself
I'm,
heard
I'm
after
open
this?
to any other option as long as.
So this could be something possibly that could happen if you taking the sign
Yeah,
down.
it's a possibility.
And what would you do? You said you need assurance. You would need assurance.
I would just need.
How would you be assured that he's not going to be nude?
That's a
how can he
great
show you
that's a
this?
great question. I just don't want to see it. Like, well, it was. I mean,
So
it
you're
was,
not telling him not to be nude, or that you.
well, what I said was that he does have a different value system, and I was shocked to see what I saw that day. But it's through my fence. I just don't want my kids to be exposed to it. So going back to your question, the sign's only going to come down if I know that there's no possible way we're going to see it any longer. That's it.
So, stepping aside from the concepts of nudity and respect and whatnot, it all does physically come down to holes in the fence.
I guess you can say
yeah.
that. That's a good way to put it.
So, how often, how many, based on your perception of the fence, how many holes do you see in there? Do you think it's shoddily done, or there's just one particular?
It looks like a
crack?
fence that's been there for a while, and there's definitely a few cracks. I can't say off the top of my head what it looks like. I mean, we do both have large backyards. I do say it's worth looking more into, but I didn't think about it that way. I guess we could further discuss that.
Can I ask you this too as well? Would you consider inspecting your fence on your side, where it could be possible more holes? Would you consider going into the backyard and making sure you can identify everywhere that you can see from your end into his yard? Would that be a problem doing that?
No, it wouldn't be a problem.
Would you be
I think both of us need to.
Right, exactly. Would you be willing to let him know that this is something that you're going to do on your own time? Would you inspect and see where holes are open?
I'm willing to do that. Yeah, I
Right.
can do that on my own time.
Because what I'm going to ask him the same situation, the same question. If he would be willing to inspect the fence on his side to see what holes are exposed from him being able to look in
Sure.
your yard and you being able to look back.
Well, the way that it is that my fence is, so there's both of our fences together.
Mhm.
My fence is a certain height. His fence goes a little higher,
Right.
and my fence isn't that tall. And his
Right.
fence also is the one that has
Where did you see?
holes.
How many holes did you see him through? One.
One. Well, it wasn't a hole. It was through the crack. It was from the
Right. So
cracks.
is it more? We need to find out, how did you actually see him in the nude?
Well,
was it a hole or was it a crack?
Well, there
Yeah.
was a hole, and the fence also has holes.
So
and
which
cracks.
one did you see him through? The holes or the crack? Was it multiple?
I looked. I saw him originally through one of the cracks, and then I looked into the hole.
So there is multiple
Yes, there was
ways
multiple,
to look through the fence.
which is what really troubled me.
And that's your observation.
That was my observation.
Now, have you been able to communicate to him about the holes in the fence
Not
other
at
than
all.
today, right?
Not at all.
So this is the first time you've actually been able to
Yeah.
point this out.
Yeah, I would say so.
So I would say that it's key that you write down in your notes that it was multiple holes
Sure.
in your fence. And I'm going to ask you, is it okay for me to mention to him that you will consider inspecting the fence for more holes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine with me.
Okay. That's what I wanted to make sure I asked you. Do you have anything you wanted to add on?
No, I mean, I think it
Do you
definitely
feel
helped.
more comfortable? Like we asked you, you had a chance to go in more to.
I think it did. It
Yeah.
also helped me in this cathartic purge to help me, understand a little bit more
Right.
some of my own, sort through my own thoughts. But
Okay.
you're absolutely right about this whole fence issue. I think I'm starting to get a better picture of what happened.
Now, I'm asking my colleague, we did cite the main thing that we're looking at is the holes and the cracks in the fence. So we need to look more into that. That's something that we'll note together and we'll mention when we talk to Mr. Bird.
Because while the overarching concepts of trust and respect are very important, we also have to look down at the physical means of how this is being breached, and it's through holes and cracks in the fence. And it's a very important point that you brought up, that the fence is rather old, or it looks rather old, which could explain why there's visibility between both sides.
Yeah.
And also, just being, is it realistic to say that this could be something that could be fixed, the holes or the cracks, or is this like something that that you don't think that? can
No,
be fixed on
I
your
think
end?
I
Do you
definitely
think that you have the means to fix these holes on your own?
I think I have the means, but we're struggling financially. I think it's his fence, and he needs to fix it. That's just how I see it.
Right. And do you even have the means? So you're saying you don't have the means?
I'm not saying I don't have the means, but
Would you
this
be
is
willing
more,
to fix these holes on your end?
if he gives me the funds to do it, I'll probably find someone to find some work
Would
on
you
it.
be willing to use your own money?
That's something I might have to think about, talk about with my
So
wife.
you're willing to think about using
I'm
your
willing
own
to
money?
I'm willing to
That's something
consider
possible.
it, but it's more of his fence.
Okay.
You
so
know what I mean?
you would rather have him pay for it?
Yeah.
But there is a possible
Because
option.
yeah.
There is I'm just getting clarification here. There is a possible option of you paying for it yourself if he does not pay for it,
Well, that's
or is that something that's
again
just
when
off
it
the
comes
table?
when it comes to the money option, I'm gonna have to talk about it with my wife, and
But it might
it's
be
a
a possible
possible. It
option.
might
I
be a
just wanted
possibility.
to ask
It might be a
if I can
possibility.
even mention this to him.
Yes.
Because I'm going to ask him if he is willing to pay for it, number one, and then I'm going to mention to him that you said you would rather have him pay for it.
Yes. I
But
would
at the
rather
same
have
time,
it.
you still are caucusing with your wife about you paying for it. So, is it safe to say that there's a possibility he could get paid for it?
Well, there being the cracks and the holes, the ones on my fence, on my side of the fence, so both of our
Right.
fences, I will fix my side.
So you are saying that you will fix your side?
I will fix my side, but he's got to fix his.
Okay, so that's something that I definitely want to mention to him.
Exactly.
You know,
But there was way more on his side, and I'm
right,
not,
and that's why you're
and
not making
financially-
a
And
compromise.
exactly. I'm not gonna go
Which
so
is-
far to say that financially I'm gonna fix
Right.
those holes because it's not my fence.
You'll be
You know,
making a
it
compromise.
makes no sense for me to fix his fence. You
Yeah,
know?
because he was the one that wanted to establish that 8-foot fence.
Exactly. 8 foot. I mean, 8 feet. You would think that even with such a big fence, you wouldn't be able to see. I saw right through it.
I have another question. If there was no way to see him nude, or no way to view him from your side, or for your kids to see him, or for your wife to see him, would you even have an issue or dispute?
If there was
Especially if there was no
absolutely,
sign?
if there was 100% without a doubt no way to see it, then there wouldn't be no sign.
You would need a sign?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
That point blank. That's it.
All right, well, we're done with storytelling with you.
Story- what do you mean
excuse
story?
me.
The
Excuse me.
Arcaucus.
I'm done with our caucus.
Mhm.
Miss Speaks.
Okay.
With you, and we would like to take this time to have our private caucus with Mr. Burke.
All right.
So there are
Is there,
refreshments in the other room, and you can enjoy yourself. I will go get Mr. Burke, and we'll continue this mediation.
Okay.
Be right back.
What's up?
So how are you feeling?
Better.
Had a nice break and everything to clear your thoughts?
Yeah, definitely.
Get some food?
Yeah, I got some nice snacks. You have a big snack.
Okay, we tried.
Nice and hydrated. Got my water. The nice facilities you all have here.
Right. Definitely. Okay. Well, I'll let my colleague start if you'd like to. Or
Okay.
would you like me? I have a
Um,
question I can start with.
Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay. Well, we just got through doing our private caucus with Mr. Jerry, and a few things that came out of that caucus that he agreed for me to share with you is that he would definitely consider paying to fix any holes on the fence on his side.
Okay. That's good for him.
Now,
Well, I mean,
I would ask you, and I wanted to ask you, how do you even feel like about that? Like,
I
if he
think-
said he'll fix the holes on his
Yeah.
side.
I think we should backtrack a little bit.
Well, I just wanted
So,
to, before we even go into it, backtrack anything, I just wanted to let you know that that's what he said
Okay.
in his caucus. And I asked him at the end of his caucus, I asked him if I could share this with you. And he
That's
agreed
fine.
to that.
Yeah. If he could,
How do you feel about
that's
that?
fine. He could have done it at the beginning. He could have upon himself to close the holes that, are showing.
Right. Now, on top of that, I wanted to tell you that there's a few things that he feels that come into question, and for him to be able to consider even doing that, he needed clarification on how you felt on a few positions. Number one is respect, and number two is the safety and the well-being of his children. He's looking for insurance on knowing that these things will be maintained, but he has no way to know that because you guys have not communicated until today.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm just informing you that before we go into asking you about this situation, because maybe that might give some insight while you reflect and go back on
Yeah, it does give me
how you
insight, but it
feel.
just kind of gives me insight on what he's looking for. I mean, him covering the holes on my side really doesn't do anything for me. It's fine if he does it. I mean, this is the whole problem in the first place. I wish he would have done this before we even came to mediation.
Right. And I wanted to ask you the same question.
Mm-hmm.
Would you consider inspecting your fence? Because you mentioned prior to this that you don't have no intentions of exposing yourself. You
exactly.
obviously built an 8-foot wall.
Mhm.
So he was actually talking about insurance and being assured that this would happen and that would happen. But wouldn't that prove assurance if you inspected your fence for any holes?
You know what I think would prove further than insurance? I mean, him come over and inspect the fence with me. You know?
That's a good idea. Yeah.
So that could be a possible option, and
Yeah,
my colleague's writing that down.
I think that would be a good
That
option.
you guys
because
both
what if-
could inspect the fences
yeah,
on
what
both
if
ends, right?
What if I inspect it and I don't inspect it to his liking? You know,
Right.
we're gonna end up back here.
That's an expansion on what I was saying, which is that I'm glad that you mentioned that. I was mentioning both of you guys doing your own inspections, but if you do it together,
Right.
then that totally eliminates the trust issue.
Yeah, and it establish more of an open communication that both of you have both of you have expressed that you desire.
Because that's what we're saying right here from doing the separate talks with you, that you guys both say that you have concern about the hole in the fence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're going on. But that was just the intro into me asking you, number one, I just want you to just tell me overall, like, about the issues of him and respect as far as that. When does respect come into play on your side? Like, what issues
Yeah,
do you
him.
have with
The
respect?
respect is, him not talking to me further to, settle this outside of mediations. I'm a busy man, and it's unfortunate that I have to come and attend the mediation. I mean, I'm willing, and I came here voluntarily, but it's taken away from money I could be
The
making.
time and the effort
Yeah,
to get
and
here.
then not even just that, but the stress that went into just thinking that I'm coming to a mediation. I didn't know it was going to be quite as relaxed as it is. I thought mediation was going to be all
Like a courtroom setting and
the
everything.
courtroom, and it's like, I really, really, really wish we could have done this in the beginning. And the disrespect comes in that he didn't try and do this outside of mediation. I know he
Try
tried.
to I'm trying to specify as far as communicate.
Tried to communicate. And I know he did that one time, right? But come on, he's got to understand that people have their bad days, and I'm sure he does. And, I was having issues with my wife that morning, and I did shoo him off because I'm not trying to talk to anybody else. I'm pissed off. I'm just trying to carry on with my own day. I didn't see anybody having to,
Now, one thing.
say anything that I would give them the respect. But listen, it's not just him. If anyone came up to me at that moment, shoot him away.
So you would have treated any other person the same way.
So it's not like you had a personal bias against him. So there's no hate involved. Now, once again, since we're talking about perception, you're obviously clarifying what your outer perception is that you don't have hate, you're not coming with any animosity, and for sure, what he was insinuating when I cited to both of you the word perversion, which is a poisonous word, that's something that you're obviously not trying to project is that you're any kind of a pervert. Right. Now, he mentioned that he doesn't feel that you're a pervert. He feels it's a cultural clash.
Okay, and what's maybe a cultural clash?
Meaning that your lifestyle conflicts differently than what his.
Me living freely and him living, strictly.
Right. And he's saying that his issue is not with you being a pervert, but just saying that you guys have a different taste of lemonade.
Yeah,
What you say?
you know,
And
we're willing to see, like, agree to disagree, but I mean,
Right,
let's
but
take it
what
to
I had
another
wrote
level.
down, is that you
Level.
have a problem with him trying to put that, insinuate that you are a pervert by having a sign out, because that's what that sign insinuates. Is
My problem arises
Right.
with his character.
well, I'm saying the sign that says about you. That what does that say to you? The sign that he's putting there.
The sign is good and all, whatever. I mean, but his character to put up that sign, the reasoning behind putting up that sign, you know, that sign sucks. It really does. And
Why is what I'm saying. What does it
well,
say
that's what I'm
about
getting
you?
at.
It's
What does the
not
sign
open
say?
communication. That's what you're reiterating. It's not open communication. It's more like passive aggressive,
Yeah, totally.
indirect.
Right. I was asking you, how do you interpret the sign? Like, what do you interpret the sign meaning to you?
An attack.
I make it. It's pretty straightforward, man. Don't you see it? Like,
And that's why I was saying that you are trying to express to him, don't paint me as a picture as a pervert, right?
straightforward.
So that's a word that I identified with the perversion. So,
yeah, sure. But that
and-
takes that word pervert, takes it to a whole other level. Like,
but the sign
Stirring
insinuates
up a lot
that.
of emotion.
Is what I'm saying. The
Right.
sign insinuates that,
Did
and
he
you're not
explicitly
comfortable
call
with
you
that.
a pervert during the incident with the car?
Yeah, he did. He called me.
That's why I'm bringing this word up again, and
Yeah.
that's something that's impeding it.
Yeah, and
It's
my
making
problems go
progress here.
beyond. My problems really do go beyond the sign. It's like
It's the
do I-
whole
do
meaning
I
behind it,
have to
right?
live next to a person that's going to be childish, and, you know, put my life on blast rather than
Well, your
talk
name
to
out,
me,
bro.
talk to me like an adult.
And
No.
you mentioned how you have a business and
Your
you're worried
reputation.
that it will ruin your
Business,
reputation.
reputation.
Right.
Not only you, but your life as well.
Because when I bring him back in here, I want to cite to him that that's one of your major concerns is that you're mislabeling. You're using words like perversion, signs that insinuate that there's some kind of perversion when all you're doing is trying to be free in your own home, in the confines
I
of your own
wanted
home, right?
maybe to ask him, you know, what was his goal with the
To ask him, what is his goal with the sign? What was your goal with the sign? Can you
Well,
write that down?
He actually did mention what the purpose of the sign was.
Right. Can you write that down? Because I want to say that to him. That he wants to ask him that question. He said personally, we got that.
Yeah, I'd
he
like
wants
to ask-
he needs
I'd like
to hear
to
that
ask
from
him.
him, so we can write that down. That's good that you mentioned that. So let me go down my checklist right here just to make sure I'm on point with what you're saying. So you would consider inspecting your side of the fence,
Yeah.
but only your side of the fence. And also, you did make the suggestion of not only that, but why don't we both
Right.
inspect both sides of the
Yeah,
fence
exactly.
so we can get over his trust issue?
Right.
And you need to express to him, once again, that I'm not a pervert. I'm just minding my own business. Correct?
Right.
And he says that he doesn't think you're a pervert, but he thinks he just has a problem with your lifestyle and way of
Yeah.
living.
I think that's what I need to understand from him is like
Why do you have a problem with how I'm
Like
living?
defining
why
what
would-
it means to have a problem with
why,
something.
Right.
why do you have to have a problem?
We're going to
you know?
revisit that when we bring it back because that's something I've noticed that's been the whole time we've been sitting here. It is a culture clash, and he actually said that to make me further analyze that neither one of you understand each other because you obviously live different, and you haven't taken the time to even talk about your
Yeah,
commonalities
he
or your
hasn't
differences.
taken the time, you know, to see why
Right.
my reasons behind everything I did. I took his children into consideration when I built that fence. I built
True.
it
How long have you had that fence?
4 months.
4 months.
Right.
It was a 6-foot fence.
You built the
before.
fence for privacy
Yeah.
purposes.
And
Correct.
I built it bigger, and I don't know, you know, there's cracks in fences, and it's hard to, you know, fill every single hole. And I know he said he feared and he put ants and saw it, but then
Right.
he took it to another level and he
Like
started looking like, you know, like,
Right.
when's he gonna do it? Is he doing it every time?
Right.
Like,
And
you
that
know?
creates more pressure.
Yeah, and that's gonna, you know, it's gonna lead to him having to expose his problem to his kids because his kids are like, Daddy, why are you looking up against the fence? You know, and then maybe the kids are gonna stop
So you
looking
believe
up
this
the
is counterintuitive to,
yeah,
you
his,
know,
It's
his
going
real
to create
goal.
more of a problem.
Counterintuitive to actually him, you know, keeping his children away from me. I know that my stuff's out, but when you draw attention to something, you know, and you like, you know, you negative towards your neighbor, your kids are gonna be like, why, Daddy? You know, why are you looking at the fence? You know, and then they'll start looking. And,
So you
and that can even
obviously,
extend to the sign as well. Like,
Right.
what dad, what does nudity mean?
yeah, why is this sign out there?
now just from talking to you right now, I can automatically I don't want to assume, but I observe that you don't have a problem with the holes being fixed.
Right.
If there's a hole, you don't say, "Oh, leave a hole open." You're saying, Fix it, close it, because I don't want to be seen. Henceforth, that's why I have an 8-foot wall.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So
To
when
let him
he
understand
comes
that.
back, I'm gonna let you know that number one, and I think talking to him too in my notes as I'm looking, he has no problem with the holes being closed. He doesn't want them open either. So between both of you, one thing we have in common is that we want the holes closed.
Yeah.
But the issue that we have that's still at hand is the sign. How will you be ensured that that sign will come down, even if you fix the holes? And I think that's something that when he comes back here, I would like to talk to both of you about.
Yeah,
Is that fair to say?
It's fair. It's like you said. I want to know with insurance going forward that he's not going to put up a sign again. And that's I just don't trust him.
And then what's also good is that you came up with the idea of both of you inspecting the fences, and he actually offered to inspect the fence itself and to possibly pay for it with his wife if he talked to her, and then came to an agreement.
Yeah, I would.
But
I would
you
think
mentioned
that
that
they
you
would have
didn't
to
want
pay
you
for
want
it.
him to pay for. You don't want to pay for anything.
I don't want to pay for it, but if
Are you
it's
willing to?
if it comes to it, I will have it with him.
So that
I
could
will
be a
not
possibility.
It's a possibility to have it with him. I want him to pay for it fully. I will not pay for it fully. And
So you will not pay for
I
it.
will not pay for it fully. I want him to pay for it fully. But if it comes down to it, I will be willing to split it 50-50 with him.
Now, do you feel by doing this you would be losing anything? Or compromising?
No,
or
I'm not compromising anything.
Just
man,
now-
because I wish you would have let me know this in the beginning.
which was no kind of communication.
Yeah, I want there to be communication in the future, man.
I guess you can interpret, putting a financial strain on both of you guys. It's kind of like you're both equally getting involved in establishing
So
a good
50-50?
relationship between both neighbors, right?
Should I write down 50-50 will be a consideration
Definitely.
on the repairs of the fence? And double inspection? Is that
Maybe
fair
like
to say?
routine inspections.
Yeah, but man.
Well, no, I mean before you start the new work, that both of you guys inspect the fence
Yeah,
together.
this is fine.
To establish
but
more trust.
I want to move on from this.
What do you want to move?
I want to somehow know that he's going to talk to me in the future.
Well, when you guys meet together to both inspect the fence, which was your idea, don't you think that this would be a step
I
for
do,
talking?
but he's really not easy to communicate with.
Mhm.
He's really sensitive, like I said.
Right.
Sometimes my talking comes off as aggressive, and it's just
Right.
because I'm trying to get to the point. If we're forced to, settle our communication,
You want to
Yes,
settle
so-
communication issues today.
yeah,
You
What-
wanna,
what-
you're
what-
looking towards the long term.
What could he do today to prove to you that he could possibly communicate with you, even
I
to
think-
do that
I think
simple
a
thing as
good-
meet up
a
and
good
look at the
step
fence?
would be exchanging phone numbers between us both.
Exchanging.
You guys don't even have each other's
No.
phone numbers. Let me
No.
write that down.
No.
And you would consider that a first step before
little
even
goes-
looking at the
A
fence.
little goes a long way.
Little goes a long way.
To where that'd be a peace of mind in the future. He could text me. It's not. You don't even have to communicate.
Would that be considered would that be considered to say that's a trust building
Yeah.
thing?
Yeah, it
Is
would.
it actually having his phone number and beginning some form of dialogue
Yeah, it would be. It would.
beyond this mediation?
Yeah, it would show me that he's willing. He's actually making some foot in the door of an effort to
Right.
actually. Not because what I see from him is just positive. This would be, a form of action. And this could be a
Right.
first tiny step of maybe being a community.
I guess you can also, just as a suggestion, like maybe invite each other to each other's houses for dinner.
Hopefully it gets like that.
Would
Let
you
me-
say
let me
that's the
write this down.
ideal
Yeah, that's.
to have like a really good relationship
Yeah.
with your
I
neighbor?
want to have.
So let me
fun.
write. Let me review on this. So you said what did you mention right now?
Like inviting
Inviting-
to dinner.
Inviting
yeah.
to dinner. So maybe talking face to face
Yeah,
over
bringing the children
dinner.
and everything.
And you're agreeing to these options, correct?
Correct. It's not that I'm agreeing with them. Sorry, I need to rephrase myself.
Yeah,
but
rephrase
these are
yourself.
the best alternatives.
These
Best
are the
alternative.
better
Best
alternatives.
case,
Best case scenarios.
is that we end up, being a community.
Now exchange phone numbers, right?
That would be
You're,
nice.
you're willing to do that, right?
Definitely.
And you're willing to co-inspect the fence.
Yes.
And after we do this one-on-one with you, you would like to discuss how he is going to ensure that what was it that he was respect you? Or?
Yeah, just about him approaching you with problems he has rather than, taking it to mediation.
Because as you said, like the effort.
Or
of
putting up
getting
a sign, right?
Putting up a sign.
Yeah,
Exactly, yeah, definitely.
It can be interpreted as passive aggressive.
Totally. Yeah, and I can take it in.
Now, if these things were met right here, would you be more inclined to trust
Yeah,
him
I
as a
would.
neighbor?
Yes, I would. I think that would help me a lot.
So, if these were men, you trusted him more as a neighbor. How would you feel if he just took that sign down?
That'd be good, but, other things.
Because you mentioned in the beginning, I said, what if he took it down? You're like, well, I don't know how he feels about me.
Right.
That would all depend more so on what we go through
Exactly.
at the end of the day. So if we do check on these that I said today, would that build you more towards
That would build
being more
faith,
open?
Yeah, to him, the sign, the meaning behind it. I mean, but just to have him take it down and to exchange numbers.
Would be one thing. So I need to add that to it. He needs to actually take the sign down for you to make progress with any of these. These will come after. These will come after the sign.
That's a prerequisite.
Right. These will the sign first and these after to ensure that that was sincere. Right.
Sign first.
I'm just trying to double.
Is there anything else you would like to bring to our attention?
No, I feel at peace. Honestly,
That's great.
I'm willing to work and
Okay.
I'm willing to communicate.
Now, that was all positive. Before we end, I just want to make sure I get one thing. It might be a few things. Worst case scenario, where do you think this can go if he does not want to take down the sign?
I don't know, man. Lawsuits. It's a slippery slope, though.
So you actually have considered a lawsuit on your own,
I guess, man.
if worst case scenario, if he doesn't agree to what
Yeah.
you have up here, and that makes sense. You have your reasons and he has his reasons. Okay, so that's the worst case scenario because you guys already are not established as friends. It's not like a friendship is lost, but that's the worst case.
Yeah,
All right,
because
well-
of the financial burden.
Yeah. So we'll have him
Right.
come in and I'll present him with what we talked about. Is that okay?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
We'll have to
Yeah. Yeah.
call him,
Yeah.
talk for 1 minute.
Well,
We're good.
Should we still do this?
yeah.
Yeah, just call him in, man.
Yeah. Probably.
Maybe he's going to sit down when we stop.
All right.
Jerry.
Oh, you're right there. Yes, you can, man. Yeah, come back. We're ready for you.
Do we have him sit down and want to end it?
We'll get. Yeah.
I guess we can
Yeah,
go
we're
on
gonna-
that
we're gonna
one,
go-
closing
I'm-
statement.
Right now, I'm going to recap everything that you talked about real quick, and then we're not done. We're not reaching the resolution, but we're coming to the end of our time to mediate for this assignment.
Oh wow.
Okay,
Wait,
so
that's good.
let me add. Yeah, let's everybody stay in character. Welcome back. Just to brief you on what happened, I told him what you agreed for me to disclose with him.
Yes.
Right? Now, this is what he has agreed for me to disclose with you. Judging on how you feel about everything, we talked about respect.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that you shared in common. You guys both felt respect is an issue.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned that you developed a little bit of respect from being here. He also mentioned a little bit of respect for being here and starting communication. So that's one thing that you guys do have in common that we cited. Also, he has agreed to the offer of considering, if you did take down the fence, inviting you to a face-to-face dinner for you guys to further enhance your communication that you established today. 2, to exchange phone numbers, and to possibly co-inspect the fence together to see what holes exist and then further discuss on how to fix it. Now, you mentioned, and I disclosed with him, that you were willing to pay for it on your end, and that if he was not willing to pay for it, you would possibly talk to your wife. He kind of mentioned the same thing. He's open to multiple things, either paying for it himself, but he'd rather have you pay for it, and you'd rather have him pay for it. Well, maybe through this new communication, you guys can come to a conclusion on who's going to pay for it. So,
What do you mean? That's $3 hours.
yeah, but we can't. We got to end it the right way. Like, we can't just stop.
Yeah, we can.
He says it. So,
What do you mean?
we're supposed to, I'm almost done. I'm in 2 sentences.
I know, but you're kind of forcing it.
It's 2 inches.
Yeah.
I'm stating I'm just reflecting here. We don't have to come to any conclusion.
Okay.
I'm just telling you what he said, and I'm almost down to the last line. So co-inspect the fence together, discuss how he respects you, and now you respect him. So you guys need to have a conversation about that for things to open up more. Worst case scenario is he'll hit you with a lawsuit. So today, I don't know what can come out of the decision, but due to our time of ending this assignment, we'll wrap it up and we will call end to this mediation.
All right, cool.
I hope we don't get penalized.
Why
for
would
that.
we, bro? You know how we stopped his mediation in class?
Did he stop it just like that?
Were you there that one day?
Did it stop for 3 hours?
He just like stopped it immediately,
Yeah,
like
he
when
just
we
stopped
went
middle of
like
it.
to
Once
like.
you-
Yeah, I'm saying as long as he's cool with us doing it, I don't
That's
care.
fine.
Could we
I just
like,
hope he's cool with that. I just don't want to lose no points.
Let's
could we
stop
have
it.
like a video or everything?
Did you stop it?
Just
Did you
do
stop
it.
it?
Yo, calm down, everyone. Yo,
No, we're good. Did we
listen,
push stop?
listen.
Did you push
Why
stop?
would I? Don't we want to debrief?
Oh, I don't know. I'm asking. I thought you pushed stop. I was asking, did you push stop?
No.
That's what I was asking. So go ahead.
We're good. We're good.
No, I'm not. I
We're
don't care. I just want to know, did we push
All
stop?
right.
Go ahead. So let's do the wrap up.
Okay.
I didn't know we were
All
still
right, I'll roll
recording.
to that.
I didn't know we were
Let's
still
go.
recording.
Yeah, we're good.
That's why I was asking. Are we still recording?
All right, man. Everyone did a good job. That's all I have to
I
say.
think it was pretty solid.
Uh,
We did
that's
a
it.
really good job in trying to keep in character. We didn't get into any laughing fits, although
Yeah.
apparently we did at one point.
For like 1 split second.
So,
Yeah. I think it was, I forgot what it was, but it was just like really quick and I caught myself.
that's good.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was really professional with all of us. We seemed to know conditions. The reason why I was kind of pressing you though on,
The second one?
yeah, because of the threat of like a lawsuit and everything, like
Uh-huh.
countersuit. That's what I was like trying to dig up. Like if you were, because I thought that was part of the character. Like they felt so threatened that they could possibly,
Are we talking about the second mediation?
yeah.
Well, I didn't bring it up because he didn't bring it up. Remember how in the first one? He found out that you were, and like, okay, that changes the whole dynamic. I assumed that until he brought it up, I would respond to it, but he didn't bring it up. So
And then also the sign too.
what about it?
Like it wasn't mentioned at all during the initial storytelling.
Yeah,
I
that's true.
thought
Well,
that was like a really crucial
I think
part of it.
it's because similar to our other time when we did it, like I think in my storytelling that was like I was kind of cut off. I didn't get to that part. Yeah.
See anything else you need?
No, I think we did a good job knowing our parts this time around. It made
Yeah.
it a lot easier. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, we did.
Now we done recording?
Not yet, man.
Now I can talk? All right, cool.
I'm gonna videotape.
Just to prove to Braun, we sat for more than 3 hours.
Export that shit right now. Whatever.
Well, that's the goal, right, bro? But what if it doesn't happen?
What do you mean?
Acts of God.
That's why I just videotaped.
No, I'm not talking. I'm saying
Cross your fingers
export-
right here, right now.
No, I'm saying
Cross
export.
your